The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. F&M leader Michael Pintard tells the House of immigration violations, while former leader Dr. Jimenez accuses Immigration Minister Keith Bell of dishonesty over the funeral citizenship swearing in. Another delay for the Adrian Gibson corruption trial, and F&M and PLP protesters in a verbal clash in Rawson Square. Plus, in our interview this morning, we are talking with the CEO and COO of BPL live in studio. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, my co-host Duquesa Dean will be joining us. That's all straight ahead, but first, it's time for the overnight, the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, telling the House yesterday of multiple immigration violations, he read into the record a Bahamas Immigration Department report that said the minister approved a work permit for someone on the restricted list a day after that individual was deported for overstay. Pintard read from an immigration official stated that the subject arrived in the Bahamas on June 30th, 2019 and was landed for 90 days and received extensions until January 20th, 2020 and was arrested on October 11th, 2022 for overstaying, was deported on October 16th, 2022. The work permit was approved on October 17th by the minister. No decision letter scanned, issued, and collected on October 18th. And that there were instructions were given to restrict the individual. Pintard note said the person was on the restricted list. But that was a reminder outlining other reported violations. He said there was fired in 2019. She was arrested. There was no application for renewal at the time of arrest, but arrangements were made for deportation along with her child. Instructions were given not to deport. The application for renewal was submitted after the arrest was approved. This was in 2022, and it covered the period from 2022 to 2023. He said that all outstanding fees that were due for the previous period were waived as well. There's a lot more. You can read about it in today's Nassau Guardian. To ensnare Immigration Minister Keith Bell over various matters, including his decision to swear in a woman and her children as Bahamian citizens at her husband's funeral last month, former Prime Minister Dr. Jimenez, in his explanation to reporters last month regarding the circumstances that led to the swearing in of the family at the service. Minnis gave notice in the House of his intention to ask a series of questions of the minister, among them whether the woman and her children, as well as her husband, ever applied for citizenship. The start of the corruption trial of F&M politician Adrian Gibson delayed after a protest about his suitability as a member of parliament raised concerns about whether he could get a fair trial. A group of people dressed in PLP hats and T-shirts assembled outside the Bank Lane courtroom of Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson as the jury pool waited for jury selection to begin. Before the proceedings got underway, the crowd outside could be heard chanting, quote, "Adrian gotta go." Following an in-chambers hearing, Grant Thompson decided to defer jury selection to another date. The media have been banned from publishing the new trial date in an effort to prevent further protests. With that protest, opposing protesters verbally clashed in Rawson Square as members of the FNM gathered to call for Immigration Minister Keith Bell's resignation, and PLP supporters formed a motorcade to show support for the embattled minister. Controversy swirling around Bell and his relations and actions as minister. Retired Commissioner of Police Paul Farquharson, who sought to root out corruption in the force when he was at the helm of the organization, has died. He died in hospital yesterday. Farquharson, the fourth commissioner in the independent Bahamas, served in that position from November 2001 to March 2009. 66, his career as an officer spanned just over 40 years and was marked by his devotion to his country. Prime Minister Philip Davis said Farquharson leaves behind an indelible legacy of service, integrity, and commitment to the country. And a Royal Bahamas Defense Force officer accused of rape granted bail, $9,900 bail Monday during an emergency hearing. Prosecutors say Valdez Lopez sexually assaulted a 28-year-old woman on July 11th. As a condition of his bail, Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson ordered the 41-year-old Lopez to surrender his travel documents and not to come within 100 feet of his alleged victim. He also is to sign in at the East Street Police Station. Lopez has been from his duties pending the resolution of his case. He's scheduled to appear before Acting Chief Magistrate Roberto Reckley to receive a voluntary bill that will seek to fast-track the case to the Supreme Court for trial. And a female passenger on board a Bahamas Air plane that was being used to repatriate 143 Haitian migrants to Port-au-Prince has died, according to Department of Immigration officials. The department said the female experienced a medical emergency, which caused the aircraft, which was taxiing, to return to its gate. We're told the nurse station at Lyndon Pindling International Airport, along with fire services and EMTs, rendered medical assistance. But by the time the Doctors Hospital emergency medical team arrived to provide further medical assistance, she had already died. This was said to be around 9:23 yesterday morning. Overseas, a powerful typhoon blowing closer to the northern Philippines today, forcing thousands of evacuations and a halt to sea travel ahead of tidal surges up to nearly 10 feet. The strongest winds at the storm center expected to remain offshore as Typhoon Doksuri barrels northwest off some of the provinces in the country, but they may hit outlying islands in the archipelago. The typhoon's 420-mile-wide rain band could cause flash floods and set off landslides in northern provinces. Doksuri was last tracked about 193 miles east of the Cagayan province, and right now winds are sustained at 115 miles per hour, gusts up to 143 miles per hour. The typhoon would also enhance seasonal monsoon rains in central and northern provinces. It was forecast to continue moving northwest on a track south of Taiwan that would make landfall in China later this week. In sports, Bahamian Mike Sands is now a two-time Central American and Caribbean Athletic Association. Sands, who made history 4 years ago, becoming the first Bahamian president of one of the 6 area associations of world athletics, got a huge sign of approval at the NACAC Jose, Costa Rica over the weekend. Being re-elected as the top official in the regional body, is expected to serve for another 4 years and automatically take the Bahamas' spot on the World Athletics Council. Elections held during the NACAC Under-18 and Under-23 championships in the Costa Rican capital. The Bahamas finished 4th in that 3-day meet with 22 total medals, 6 gold, 9 silver, and 7 bronze. The United States won with 23 gold, 16 silver, and 8 bronze for 47 medals. Jamaica was second with 13 gold, 14 silver, and 5 bronze for a total of 32. And Canada rounding out the top 3 with 12 gold, 10 silver, 6 bronze for 28 in total. Should Sands complete his term, he will serve Jamaica and Victor Lopez of Puerto Rico as the second longest-serving president in NACAC history, trailing just Amadeo Francis of Puerto Rico, who served for 19 years from 1988 to 2007. Sands ran unopposed and secured 22 of the 29 votes. The remaining 7 were unmarked. Zaylee Elizabeth Thompson and Lamar Taylor hit the water first for the Bahamas at the Marine Mess Fukuoka Hall A in class action underway in the 2023 World Aquatics Championships in Japan over the weekend. Swimming in her second consecutive World Championships, Thompson smashed her personal best in 200 meters individual medley, placing 4th in the first of 4 heats. She powered through the cycle of strokes to clock a time of 2:25.36. Though she finished at the bottom of the rankings for her event, she improved on her previous personal best, 4.8. Taylor was in action in the 50-meter fly heat, swimming out of lane 6 in heat number 5. He won his heat, swimming a personal best time of 23.91 seconds, finishing 40th out of 92 competitors. For Women's World Cup soccer, goalie Gail Thalman shielded Switzerland to an 0-0 draw against Norway today, as the Norwegians played without their star player because of injury. Ada Hegerberg was initially listed to start, but the team announced during the match that she would be unable to play after experiencing a feeling in the groin toward the end of her pre-match warm-ups. The Norwegians could have used her to break open a scoreless game. Switzerland and Norway each had their share of opportunities to score a decisive opener throughout the match, but it was Norway that forced team to come up with 4 saves. Match 10,769 fans were in attendance for Group A, the Group A match over in New Zealand. The result leaves Group A, which also includes the Philippines and co-host New Zealand, up for grabs. The Swiss lead with 4 points. New Zealand and Philippines each have 3, and Norway has 1, but there are scenarios in which each of them could make it to the knockout stage. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. Your first look at weather brought to you by Nescafe Coffee. Here's what's happening. We've got high pressure that will weaken across the area and produce islands. A slight increase in tropical moisture will enhance shower activity, even with the looming remnant Saharan dust. Mariners and beachgoers should be alert for possible waterspout activity, and there still is a threat of rip currents along eastern shorelines in the southeast Bahamas. Again, the public's being urged to remain hydrated and take lots of breaks if you're doing outdoor activities. Heat indices will again reach the triple digits today. For today, for the northwest Bahamas, partly sunny, hazy, hot, and humid with widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. Expect gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers and thunderstorms. Winds northeast to east at 10 to 15 knots, falling light and variable at times. Seas 2 to 4 feet. For the central and southeast Bahamas, partly sunny, hot, and a bit breezy with widely scattered showers and a few possible thunderstorms. Small craft caution remains in effect for the southeast Bahamas. Expect gusty winds and higher in or near heavy showers and thunderstorms. Winds easterly at 10 to 15 knots in the central islands, increasing to 15 to 20 knots in the southeast Bahamas. Seas 2 to 4 feet in the Central Islands, but 4 to 6 feet in the Southeastern Islands. 84 degrees right now under partly cloudy skies in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 93 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius. The heat index will make you feel like it's 108 Fahrenheit, 42 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 82 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook. And a look at the tropics coming up after traffic in just a bit. Your first look at weather brought to you by Nescafe Coffee. Elevate your coffee experience with Nescafe Gold. It's time for a break, but when we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Morning Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
A lot of folks are wondering, what is the Agrarian Awards? It's an award show to celebrate the people who produce the food that feeds the country. So September 16th, we're giving out trophies and money to young farmers, backyard farmers, sheep runners, goat herders, pea pickers, onion planters, basically everyone. But we couldn't fit all that on the invite, so we put Agrarian Awards instead. Go to adobahamas.org to find out how to nominate your favorite agrarian. The Agrarian Awards, September 16th.
Tired of paying too many bills and loan payments each month?
Shrink your monthly debt payments down to one easy payment with our debt consolidation loan.
It also has a built-in savings, percent interest.
Inquire about our debt consolidation loans today.
Call 356-7764.
Don't let go of your chance to win big with Alive on 700 Wines and Spirits. We've got an exclusive promotion just for you. Purchase 3 or more refreshing Click Rattlers and pair them with our Freedom 12 plan or higher at 700 Wines and Spirits. To enter the contest, simply write your name and phone number on the front of your receipt. Then snap a photo of your receipt and WhatsApp it to 242-805-7511. This promotion ends July 31st, 2023. Terms and conditions apply. Alive. Believe in best.
There's a new electric vehicle in town, the Jack brand of SUVs, trucks, sedans, and commercial vans, available only at Easy Car Sales, home of the fully electric vehicle. For a powerful, smooth ride at a fraction of the cost to drive road with Jack. Visit easy242.com to see our brand new Jack models and drop into Easy Car Sales for a test drive. It'll have you singing. Hit the road with Jack, and don't you pump gas no more.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We're streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. Once again, I am Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Duquesa. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Great to have you with us.
Happy to be here. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. It's going to be a big day. We've got a lot to talk about. A lot going on in the news, but also our special guests this morning. We've been talking about them a lot. We're glad they are here. CEO and CEO of BPL. They'll be joining us in just a few minutes. We're going to talk with them as long as we can. I know they're always busy.
Should be an interesting conversation.
So much to talk to them about.
Yes.
But we'll get into it with them. So stay tuned for that. But let's talk about what else is in the news. And in the news, I just want to send out condolences to the family of police who died in the hospital yesterday. And, the force was greatly transformed under Paul Farquharson, yes, and definitely left a mark on policing in the country. That is a wonderful story in the paper today. Lots of tributes are pouring in, and you should definitely pick up a copy of today's National Guardian to read more about him. And Paul Farquharson, dead at 74. Wow. All right, so there's a lot going on, a lot happening, much of it involving immigration and Immigration Minister Keith Bell, and the call's getting louder for something to be done, for him to resign, for more questions about how things have been handled within his ministry. Hey, Michael Pintar, the FNM leader, again, making serious accusations, bringing up a report showing that he approved work permits even after deportations. And former Prime Minister Dr. Menes also saying that he intends to ask so many questions, quite a bit about that controversial swearing in at a funeral. And these questions are quite something. Menes giving notice to the House that he intends to ask questions including whether the woman and her children who were sworn in at her husband's funeral, including her husband, ever even really applied for citizenship.
Wow.
Which goes very far left, right, above, below, everything that Keith Bell had said when he claimed that this was the dying wish of somebody who had already been made. Oh, boy. Okay. So the Prime Minister, he even tweeted this yesterday, promising that they will address these matters. The tweet yesterday saying, a number of concerns have been raised with respect to several immigration enforcement matters. We take such concerns seriously. Bahamians deserve the facts. We are working to pull together detailed answers to address these concerns and look forward to releasing those in short order.
And we look forward to receiving that in short order. I have a question though, Dwight. With the biggest one, I think there were like 62. There were like 62 immigrants in one case that were released or were not sent to the detention center.
Right, maybe even 65, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So a number that big. Do you think that I just can't fathom that he would make an independent decision on his own, connected to an organization that is creating such a huge presence in the Bay Street area? So some of these decisions have to have been either instructed, and maybe the smaller ones, he could have perhaps, made those decisions himself. But I just don't get the feeling that he is acting in isolation.
Well, this is what this is one of those questions, right? Because he had said that, especially in that case, that was involving the Chinese workers, that he got the approval of the acting prime minister at the time, who was Chester Cooper. But when asked about it by the National Guardian a couple of days ago, he said Cooper, saying he did not do that.
Oh, wow.
So what exactly is going on here? Back to Menes, it's 31 questions.
Wow.
31 questions that he has for the government and for Keith Bell involving this matter. And they're all printed in the Nassau Guardian. So, wow.
So, yeah, it's getting quite a bit of attention.
Yeah.
And I do believe that we need transparency in all of these matters. I believe that it's time that we have a more functional opposition as well to help address some of these issues. For me, it's just really like a concerning thing. No, not really concerning. It's just interesting to note that both Michael Pinsad and the former Prime Minister are agitating in the House, and could be a little bit confusing because who is the actual opposition leader here?
Well, in this, normally I would agree, but in this regard, it just seems, the opposition's coming at it. You get the left hook, the right hook, uppercut everywhere, right?
Just pressure,
so
just pressure.
Yeah. So everybody's coming. So it might work here. Normally this would be, but in this regard,
it's just pressure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's how I see it. How do you see it, folks? Let's hear from you. 31 questions. Good Lord. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Call us toll free. 242-300-5720. Tweet us. Facebook us. Text us. 422-4796. All right, so while all this is going on in the House, outside, there are protests, the various protests. The F&M before the House calling for Bell to resign. And while they're doing that, a motorcade comes through to, I don't know what they were really doing. I'm not sure. Are these the same people who were also protesting Adrian Gibson?
Maybe.
Was it?
Maybe.
Okay.
I
but
can't
they
say
stopped
for
to
certain.
have verbal clashes with the F&M protesters. But if these were the same people, I got to say, I don't know if those people who were protesting Adrian Gibson, his corruption trial, the jury selection was supposed to get underway yesterday. That trial's had many starts and stops and starts and stops. But because of the protest, that caused another delay. And so I really don't know if you're thinking at all, the folks who were doing that protest, you are, the sooner this moves along,
They're helping
you
him.
might get what you want, right? But you doing what you're doing is causing
The delay.
the absolute opposite of what you want.
Yes, correct.
So that's very silly.
Correct. But I don't think they recognize it or
Clearly not.
or connect it, right? Because his stand that he can't get a fair trial, they're kind of really just supporting it by being out there protesting and demonstrating that perhaps he may not be able to get a fair trial due to the political, F&M, PLP kind of thing. So I totally agree. Some things we just don't need to protest.
And then they're just really not thinking. It's just blinded by the political colors.
Yes.
So the folks protesting Keith Bell want him fired from his cabinet post. That cannot cause him to resign as an MP.
Right.
Now, Adrian Gibson has no cabinet post. He's just an MP. So he has said it. He's not going anywhere unless he's found guilty. So you delaying the trial means that he's going to be right there. It's very foolish if that's what's going to happen with the trial. So think, for God's sake, think sensibly, people, before you do stuff.
Think it through.
Let the passions calm down.
Yes.
You're making a mockery of everything.
Yes. And helping him delay.
Oh, boy. But that's the colors. The colors, you
And you
just
get
can't
blinded
see
to
very easily.
Yeah, you get
apparently.
blinded. Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, boy. Anyway, let's see what this caller has to say. Good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Dwight. Good morning, DeQuestadine.
Good morning.
Hi.
Very interesting turn of events. First and foremost, upon listening to what you have said on your station this morning, the first thing that popped across my mind was, Keith Bell, in this particular instance, the Honorable Keith Bell, is being used as, I would say, as an example of what potentially happens in a lot of these ministries. You can't just lay it at his feet, but seeing that we're addressing him in particular, if this is some of the antics that happen in his ministry, I could imagine what happens in the other government ministries, because this is not a one-off situation. This is only an example or a microcosm of what happens in these agencies, which people in these agencies are quite offended. We have heard many workers who said that they have seen policies breached for a number of reasons, even beyond their understanding. And then when they stand up to question why these things happen, then they're reprimanded, because who are you to question what it is that we do. You know, that's only one example. The second part of this whole thing is, you know, we talk about corruption in this country, and this is a word that is heavy on the minds of law-abiding, right-thinking Bahamians. It is quite rampant, but they have the leaders then up here to cover up the corruption, right, blatantly in front of your face, even though we all see what's going on. You see, that's another cause for concern. And then the final thing with this particular matter is, you know, we all talk about don't worry what the international market is saying, just keep it local. We have to be very concerned with the international market, how they view the Bahamas and our leadership in this country. Are we still a nation for sale? Our leaders are easily persuaded to look the next way and not do the right thing. All these things we have to consider. Now, as far as the other matter which you talked about just now, you know, Adrian Gibson trial. We have already said a long time ago that Adrian is not going to get a fair trial here because this thing is highly politicized, highly publicized, and the fine.
I don't know if you can say that. I don't know if you can say that.
Well, it is. Well, listen, Dwight, this is highly publicized. We can't escape that. Politicized, well, we already see what's going on out there. How is this man going to get a very fair trial? We are just a small community. Everybody seems to have a hand and a talk on this case. How are we going to find someone who's going to be very, very impartial, who has not been exposed to the information in the public domain? So they are just my comments this morning I wanted to offer, and I'm watching these things with a microscope. You know, we have to do this. When is justice going to be returned to this country? Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's take some more calls. Good morning. You're on the air. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I would like to double down or double back on what I said yesterday because I did not hear the full report, you know. Of course, I think we need law and order in an impartial way, but thinking of the way the governments operate, not just this government, all our governments have operated. And somebody made the point earlier yesterday about the cabinet consensus before certain actions are done. And I will also reflect on the key role that the gentleman in immigration, the name is slipping me right now.
Keith Bell?
Mr. Bell, right. Mm-hmm. MP Bell. You know, there were certain remarks that were made in Parliament. I think it had to do with the cost of furniture and all those other things. And people were saying that those were like distracting, like it was like some certain strategies, you know. So I think as a key person, I'm going to move on to another point. The same thing, kind of into Adrian Gibson. Parliament members of Parliament have a privilege in this country, whether they are opposition or in the government party, and in that sense, they are so protected that even with what we're seeing going on, the whole thing might be planned, so that in the end, as you were saying yesterday, nothing going to come out of it.
No, I didn't say that.
I mean, or that people are saying.
Yes, people are saying.
Right, correct. People are saying. Let me quote you correctly.
Right, please. I'm saying the more we say that nothing's going to come out of it, nothing will come out of it because they don't expect it. You expect anything to come out of it. So stop saying that nothing will come out of it.
I thought of one other thing. Isn't the immigration matter also a matter of revenue as well? Where is the revenue that?
Be careful where you're going.
No. I'm not talking about the under the table revenue.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about under the table revenue. I'm talking about revenue to the government. Revenue to the government.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
but don't stay too far.
Right. Some may say anyway. Yeah, right. You're right. Exactly. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
Big thing. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. It's too easy. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. How
Hi.
you doing?
Doing well.
And good morning, Miss Dean. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
You know, it's really, it's about time we stop this foolishness. It's very interesting to listen after a situation has manifested itself, how people would call the talk shows and try their endeavor best to all over the place trying to cause this norm, like you said, Dwight, to be the accepted norm, that if something is wrong, nothing will come out of it. It's really interesting to just listen to the difference. Like Jeff said, he worried about other ministries. Okay, arbitrary rules cannot be laid down. When you go to court, whatever you go to court for, that is the only thing before the death. So you could afford to bring in this, the judge could tell you that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant what happened in the other ministries when dealing with this Keith Bell matter, because they haven't been caught yet, or their situation haven't been brought to the fore. You understand? And while I'm not impressed with Dr. Minute, but the 31 questions, some of the questions I am really, really, really impressed with, and I can't wait to see how they're going to be answered. I really, he impressed me this time.
It's pretty amazing.
Unfortunately, you're office.
This is what happens when oh boy.
But while the Prime Minister is reaching for answers in terms of what happened, I hope he also might as well throw in there, tell the Commissioner of Police, the Bahamian people are waiting with bated breath for the situation with the member, the Prime Minister for Abaco. Thanks for taking my call.
Well. All right, thank you very much. Well, hopefully he won't interfere in that one. Let the police do what they have to do, but the police do need to do what they have to do. All right, let's read your text messages. This one says here, I thought that what is this? I thought that the whole point of notifying the Babylon, of planned protests in our country was to ensure the rights of protesters were protected. The police are incompetent, willfully negligent, or something else. Did they get illegal instructions? Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the motorcade had permission to do a motorcade. I'm not too sure. But I don't know if anyone expected that the protesters would clash. But, some people like the circus. Yeah. And so they probably thought that was cute. Sadly. In
the city center.
Jokey. Dwight, if Mr. Cornish is the Prime Minister of Abaco, maybe Mr. Bell is the Prime Minister of Immigration. Very funny. Well, he says he's not the Prime Minister of Abaco. He misspoke. Right, so, okay.
He was in for a day.
Up to that point. Yeah. Ooh, okay. This person says, I said it before, Keith Bell should resign. Every day there is a new revelation. The politicians here in the Bahamas don't respect the Bahamian people. The media here in the Bahamas do not do investigative journalism. That's foolish. That's dumb. That's not true. Anyway, all these things are happening. They're only mentioned when the politicians bring it up in the House or bring in the media. That's nonsense. I don't know where you are. But come on now. Stop. That's not how it works. That's crazy. I mean, what are you expecting to happen? And then, you're right, so are you willing to talk? You don't want to like to say that, but when we're investigating you or it was something you're involved in, you want to slam the door in people's faces and hang up on them and run. So don't act like everybody's cooperative. We need the people within these areas to leak and to talk.
And I do think that people want to see a change and a difference. I also agree that there is some disillusionment. For so many years, things just happen with no repercussions or with not enough consequences. And instead of people rising up, you see more people pulling back in hopelessness. And so we do need to take more action, Dwight, in terms of getting information out, holding people accountable as well, so that people can begin to see that there is action being taken and don't, just do nothing about it.
This person says here, it's quite apparent that Bell won't resign. Bell should resign. It only shows this government's inaction when it comes to not being transparent and accountable. Well, we're going to see what happens tomorrow, right? The questions will be put to them. We'll see what they say. If there aren't satisfactory answers, I'm sure the calls will get louder. Yes, people asking about the investigation with the other MP. Where are things stand with that? Everybody's asking. Everybody wants to know. This one says here, I thought the judge's reasons to delay the Gibson trial were lousy. All over the world, there are massive protests for high-profile cases, and the cases still proceed. Not everyone is a rabid supporter. So there is a possibility for a very fair trial. Yeah, well, I agree with that. That's what I was saying to the caller. I don't think that's fair to say that there can't be. I think there are many ways you can ensure that it is.
Yeah.
This person says it was said that some immigration staff members were sent on administrative leave as a result of this incident. If they were to take the matter to the Labor Department, would they be able to get a fair trial with Bell as the minister? Well, not trial, but I mean, but I see what you're saying. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Of course, there's the tribunal as well, so there are other means, but that is quite something, and we have to verify with whether what you're saying is true. This person says here, people are saying the F&Ms keep asking questions and more questions. Bell has to go. In fact, more PLP MPs need to go. What do you mean by that? MPs? MPs? Or you mean cabinet ministers?
Yeah, ministers.
Because they are arrogant and think they're above the law. Well, that seems to be a character trait of all politicians. So, I mean, you just don't like politicians. Okay, all right. Do you think Shane Gibson, Frank Smith, and Ken Dorsett got a fair trial, or were their cases highly politicized? Well,
yeah,
interesting question. Dwight, love you, but lest we forget, a woman who lives in a plush gated community got off from allegedly killing her husband, a community that has no thugs, gangs, poor people, etc., and you think fair trials exist in the Bahamas? I am laughing like Bozo the Clown right now.
Wow.
Well, I mean, do you know what really happened there?
I don't.
I don't know what really happened there. I mean... all right. It might be a new day, but it's the same old way. That's a text. Okay. Let's take this final call, and we've got to take a break. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight. Good morning, LaCresta.
Good morning.
Duquesa.
Good morning. Hi. Listen, Dwight, no immigration minister can arbitrarily on their own make this type of decision unless the Prime Minister knows or give us consent. All right, so people calling for the resignation of Keith Bell, that cannot happen unless the Prime Minister make a change or something, okay? They cannot individually do that unless the Prime Minister knows. So from 1992, it has always been that these large corporations have advantage over behemoths when it comes to decision making, okay? So the PM often knows what happens. That's why Keith Bell gets permission to make that decision, okay? Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's how it possibly should be. But does that really happen here? Again, you see, we in this situation there was an acting PM. I don't know.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking with BPL. We've got a lot to talk with them about. That's coming up right after. You don't want to miss that. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
We got some jokey leaders in a jokey town. A three-ring circus, what a bunch of clowns. They're joking and they're jiving, but they're messing around. We got some jokey leaders, what a bunch of clowns. Hey! What? Come on! Oh, yeah! Watch this! The House of Parliament must see a jokey place. 'Cause all I see is laughing when I look in at their face. They chuckling and giggling like something sweet in there. We drowning in crime, boy, ain't no jokes out here. Wake up.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is AP News. I'm Rita Foley. Texas is defending what it says is its right to put a floating barrier in the Rio Grande River. The AP's Jackie Quinn.
In a showdown over immigration policies, the Justice Department's filed a lawsuit against the governor of Texas for his refusal to remove a barrier from the Rio Grande River. The lawsuit was coming. The Justice Department told Texas Governor Greg Abbott last week it would take legal action if he didn't remove a string of giant orange buoys from the Rio Grande, aimed at blocking migrants from crossing the river. The governor said, "See you in court." White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the Justice Department is doing just that.
They also will see Governor Abbott in court for his unlawful actions.
Governor Abbott, in a letter to the president, says he has the right to defend his state's borders.
Las Vegas may see 112 degrees today. International scientists say you can blame climate change for the blistering heat that's been gripping parts of the U.S. and much of the world. A new study finds these intense and deadly hot spells here in the Southwest and Southern Europe could not have happened without it. Now to the world's hungriest people and how to help them. The AP's Karen Shamas has this.
European Union agriculture ministers have met to discuss ways of moving grain, which is vital to global food security, out of Ukraine. The meeting comes after Russia halted a deal that allowed the exports. The EU ministers met in Brussels for the first time since Russia pulled the plug last week on the wartime deal. The deal had allowed grain to flow from Ukraine to countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, where hunger is a growing threat. I'm Karen Chamas.
The Biden administration wants new rules to get insurance companies to increase their coverage of mental health treatments. This is AP News. Now to a sentence in the riot at the U.S. Capitol. The AP's Ed Donahue.
A man who beat a police officer with a flagpole during the Capitol riot was sentenced to over 4 years in prison. An American flag was attached to the flagpole as Peter Stager struck a Metropolitan Police officer with it 3 times as others were pulling the officer headfirst into a crowd at the Capitol. After the beatings, Stager was captured on video saying, "Every single one of those Capitol law enforcement officers, death is the remedy. Everyone in the building is a treasonous traitor." Stager's attorneys say he tried to help others in the crowd and, shocked by what he saw, reached his breaking point and was seeing red when he picked up a flag on the ground. The lawyers also say once the adrenaline wore off, Stager told his wife he was horrified by his actions. Ed Donahue, Washington.
The city of East Point, Georgia has lost nearly $800,000 in an email scam. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
It's time for your first look at traffic for the morning, brought to you by RBC. Get in gear with an RBC auto loan. In your real-time traffic, right now we're seeing it's manageable, but building traffic on Milo Butler Highway, just north of Harold Pond right now, heading toward the roundabout with Tonic Williams-Darling Highway. Backed up a bit on Tonic Williams-Darling Highway as well. Blue Hill Road also just north of Soldier Road on the way to Independence Drive. You're going to see that line in front of you. And further up as you head toward Big Pond, near Cordo Avenue, looking busy. Over on Glasson Road, pretty good looking for you, except for when you get close to Munnings Road if you're heading northbound. Elsewhere, pretty manageable for you so far this morning. We'll have another update for you after the 8 o'clock news. That's your Morning Blend traffic, brought to you by RBC. Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/gear up for an RBC auto loan. And time for another check of your weather for this morning. We've got high pressure that's going to weaken across the area and produce light to moderate breezes over much of the islands. A slight increase in tropical moisture will enhance shower activity, even with the looming remnant Saharan dust. Your forecast for the Northwest Bahamas today: partly sunny, hazy, hot, and humid with widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. For the central and southeastern islands, partly sunny, hot, and a bit breezy today with widely scattered showers and a few possible thunderstorms. Temperatures getting up to around 93 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius for your highs, but the heat index will make it feel like it's 108 Fahrenheit, 42 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 82 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. In your extended outlook, weak surface pressure will maintain hot conditions and gentle to locally fresh breezes. Meanwhile, an upper-level trough will support an increase in showers and thunderstorms through Thursday. So for tomorrow, Wednesday, partly cloudy, hot, and humid with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Thursday, partly sunny, hot, and humid again with widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. We've got some activity in the tropics to tell you about. We'll tell you about that in your next weather check after the 8 o'clock news. That's your Morning Blend weather check. We'll be back after these messages here on Guardian Radio 96.9.
That's the sound of your car or truck. That's the sound of your horn. Get in gear with an auto loan. RBC makes it easy to get your own.
Get in gear with an RBC auto loan with up to 100% financing, extended repayment, and low interest rates. Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/gear up. Conditions apply.
That's the sound of your car or truck. That's the sound of your horn. Get in gear with an auto loan. RBC makes it easy to get your own.
We're gonna give you a check every week for a year.
Percy's pension plan. Island game, keep you winning. Percy's pension plan. Dream big, we will help you live it. Percy's pension plan. Island game, we got you. Percy's pension plan. From the friends you can trust. If winning is a must, come play the game you know, cause your best chance is with us. The most trustworthy name is Percy's Island Game. So put 20 on your account and ride this easy train at Percy's Island Game.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Indulge in an experience that awakens your senses with Nescafe Gold. Premium Arabica coffee beans, carefully selected, roasted to perfection, and finely ground, resulting in a unique and unmatched flavor and aroma that captivates the senses. Enticing aroma, smooth taste. Elevate your coffee experience with Nescafe Gold.
Doctors Hospital has reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. We understand that your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnoses and true personalized treatment begins. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshosp.com.
At Alive, we believe that every common loftier goal is within our reach. We believe in the essence of our identity, the richness of our history, and the boundless potential that lies within us. That's why our network is built by, owned by, and managed by us. Alive, believe in Bahamians. Visit BeAlive.com to take advantage of our golden independence deals. Alive, believe in best.
Wherever you're headed, the Custom Computers Know-How team is standing by to help guide you in the East and the West. We now have 2 convenient locations on Patton Street in Palmdale and our newest store in the Caves Village Shopping Plaza through the Blake Road entrance. Discover the latest products by top international brands and the knowledge you need to unleash tomorrow's technology today. Drop by Custom Computers out east or out west. We're open Saturdays from 10 till 4.
Summer your way with Scotiabank. Apply for a Scotia Plan loan this summer and open the doors to your dream destination, the perfect home renovation, or prep for back to school, and so much more. Enjoy competitive rates, flexible loan terms, and no payments for up to 2 months. Use your plan loan to unlock your perfect summer break. Apply for your Scotia Plan loan today and have summer your way with Scotiabank. Visit bs.scotiabank.com or call 242-356-1697 for further details.
Total Auto Care on Howard Road offers fast, quality auto maintenance at the very best prices. Tune-ups, oil changes, brakes, suspension, wheel alignments, radiators, water pump replacements, and more. Need quality brand name tires for your vehicle, tires that'll stand up to these roads? No worries. We supply Michelin, BF Goodrich, Bridgestone, Pirelli, and Toyo. We'll import them fast and install them for you at no extra cost. So when your car needs maintenance or quality tires, we're on Howard Road, just before Burger King. Come see us. Total Auto Care. Call us at 341-6599 or 341-2350.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And I say, boy, my island's in the sun, 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 sun. Bring it up now. And I say, boy, my island's in the sun. Carnival time is here. Just when I turn to party, this joke on they got me wet. So, boy, my island's in the sun. Carnival time is here. We got me wake and scraping, winding up and misbehaving.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Duquesa Dean. And as promised, we got some special guests this morning. We've been talking about them a lot, BPL, and we are very happy to have with us CEO Siobhan Cambridge and COO Tony Seymour. Great to have you with us. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So
pleasure to be here.
It's our first time having you here as CEO. We've had you here before when you were previously at BPL and it's when you were at IRCA, but now it's great to have you, Siobhan, and Tony. You've been here not too long ago, but great to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we've been talking about it a lot. The bills, what we've seen over the past, so I want to start there. Quite a few of our listeners, including myself, we have experienced much larger bills in the last 2 months, this month and last month. But not everybody. We had some people who said theirs actually went down. So can you say what percentage would have seen an increase and what might be accounting for some not seeing that?
Okay. Well, the bills are such that, let me first state that our rates have not changed. Our base rate have not changed since 2010.
Mm-hmm. This is for consumption.
The base rate,
okay.
Yes, has not changed since 2010. The change that most people are experiencing is due to the fuel charge.
Mm-hmm.
And the fuel charge is basically a pass-through. It's no profit or anything in it for BPL. It's the cost of the fuel. We pass it through to the consumer. And but what has happened is that in February, we announced that we were doing some recovery, some under-recovery that took place for economic relief during the COVID and post-Dorian period. And the recovery scale just happened to coincide with what is now the hottest month on record.
Mm-hmm.
So the unprecedented heat wave that we have has caused an increase in demand. So a lot of people's personal consumption has gone up at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So what I tell people is if you look to the left of your bill, the printed copy, there's a bar chart that kind of shows what your consumption has been over the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
And you will note for most people who have seen the significant increase that bar for June is a lot higher than it was for, let's say, the last year. The one that would show up would be July, I think, would be in the far left column. And so it's personal consumption coupled with the fuel charge. And that's what it is. So for individuals who are not seeing that increase, those are probably individuals who are managing their consumption.
All right. So let's talk a little more about the fuel surcharge. Explain it a little better in more detail for us how that works. And we got a very interesting text yesterday. Generally, if you're buying gas or something, the more gas you buy, the more the fuel doesn't go up. Why does it go up if you are consuming more energy?
Okay, so the way the fuel charge works in power generation is we have what we call a merit order loading system. So as we meet the demand on an hourly basis, what we do is we run our most efficient units first. So as the demand increases, you get into the less efficient units. So the more power we generate on an hourly basis, the less efficient our system gets in burning that fuel. But what I can say is that we have what we call the merit order, and that's to load your most efficient units first. So in the summertime, when you get into your peak period, it just so happens that you're now at the point where you're running all of your units. So your best or your base load units are running along with your peakers. And so that also causes an increase in the average cost of providing power per hour when you get into the higher demand periods. So what we try to do is encourage people to shift their load as much as they can into some of the off-peak hours. And that allows us to run more efficiently as a utility and keeps the cost down for all of us.
And what will be some of those? This is what, overnight or what off peak?
So we have two peaks during the day. We have a peak that's around from 10 to about 3 o'clock, and then the load drops off as people go home in the afternoons. And then we have an evening peak, and that evening peak comes up around 6 o'clock. And traditionally, that peak would over about 11 o'clock. But with this heat wave, we're seeing those peak level demand run until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning now. So to give you an idea, last year's peak, or what we call the low overnight, was about 190 megawatts. This year, we're seeing 230 megawatts through the night.
Wow. So air conditioning and all those things.
It's air conditioning.
Yeah.
It's
Wow. Okay. So again, the off-peak hours would be during the...
Off-peak hours are anytime. We used to say after 11, 12 at night. But like I say, the off-peak hour now is from 3 to 6 or 7 in the morning.
Okay.
But that's neither here or there. I mean, the thing is that as we're trying to cool our homes and do all these things, kids are home in the summer, they're going in and out of the fridge, it's hotter. They're not turning off the AC when you go to work, believe it or not. You may turn it off. They turn it off the minute you leave. They turn it back on. These things are all driving up the consumption levels.
Yeah. All right, so the hedging. There's still hedging going on, is that right?
There's still hedging going on.
All right, so explain to us what changed and where we are now with the price we're paying for fuel.
Okay, so hedging plays an important part in the whole mix. And back in 2020, when the hedging strategy was put in place, fuel was at an all-time low. At that point, all utilities throughout the industry were hedging because there was nowhere else for the price to go but up. BPL had a hedge strategy that they developed, which was based on a declining volume. And so the first year it was 80%. The second year the volumes dropped to 60%. And I think where we're at now is we're at just above 50%. But the strategy is such, or the policy is such, that whenever the market price reached a certain point, which would be below our strike price, so to speak, was to increase the volumes. The market has not reached that point since back then, but there's other things you can do. You can change your strike price, and that's getting into the mechanics of it. But the bottom line is you hedge when fuel prices are low. When fuel prices are high, it doesn't make good sense to hedge. But also when fuel prices are high, if they're starting to trend down, you may wish to hold off on increasing your volumes. It's speculative. It's based on some complex analysis. But we are still hedged to about 50%. And the prices right now are trending down.
So how long? We've been told a year, a little bit over a year. How long will we see these elevated prices from where we were?
The elevated prices, we had a glide path strategy that was put out in February, and the prices are scheduled to drop, I think, in November to start coming back down. At that point, we will then go to a more real-time pricing, which would be what the actual cost is of the fuel in any given month or month prior will be applied to your bill in the following month. What you're seeing now is actually a recovery of the effect of holding the price at a lower price during that COVID recovery period to provide that economic relief. And so that fuel that we're paying for now is fuel that has already been used and that has to be paid for at some point.
Wow, so the perfect storm.
Yes.
Wow. So, with, as you said, this is one of the hottest summers we can remember. Is there anything that people can do to bring down their consumption that can help lower these bills?
I'm going to turn that question over to the COO because I don't want to seem like I'm hogging the mic.
Tony Seymour, please.
So there are a lot of efficiencies or deficiencies in homes. If your home is not insulated, if your windows don't seal properly, you can switch to LED lighting. You can purchase more energy efficient appliances, air conditions and the like. If your air conditions are not properly sized for the space that they have to cool, then they're running constantly trying to maintain whatever temperature you have the thermostat set to. That also increases your consumption. If your water heater is on daily, just cycling on and off, it's not really required. So what we recommend is putting your water heater on a timer or on a switch, setting your air conditions to 5 degrees below the outside temperature, which we know is still hot.
Wow.
And then use fans to supplement it. If you have
that works here, because I mean it's going to be 90 degrees,
not
89.
Not in this type of
Right.
heat, unfortunately. But we set our temperatures to 65, and when you get up through the night, like CEO said, at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, if you check your thermostat when you expect it to be cooling at that level, it's probably still in the high 70s. Because it takes that much longer now to cool the same space because of the outside temperature. Switching to LED light bulbs, propane appliances, dryers, heaters, and stuff like that. Anything that has to cool or that has to heat are your big consumers. So trying to minimize, the amount of loads of laundry, which is unlikely because the kids are at home, and if you're like my teenage son, he does laundry every 2 days. I'm like, what are you doing? So those are some of the cost-saving measures. A lot of the homes are not insulated, unfortunately. And then a lot of times people put in appliances in their homes without realizing the kind of demand or increased demand that it would put on your consumption levels. Yeah. So right-sizing your air condition is a big thing as well.
Now, to people who have done these things and they're still seeing the numbers, the bills going up and up and up, well, what do you say to them? Well, what is that about?
In the summer, historically, your bills are higher, and in the winter months, they're lower. So what we say is budget for it. In the winter months, when your bills are lower, budget for the increased consumption that you're going to see in the summer. I mean, it's not an ideal situation. We would like our bills to be under $300 every month, but that's not realistic in these kinds of temperatures that we're seeing.
Yeah. How are we comparing to other countries in the region? Are we on the high end? It feels like we are. What are we looking at?
Believe it or not, we're part of the Caribbean Electric Utility Association, CARELAC, and they just did a tariff study. And I think we're like 5th in the region, and the only countries that are lower than us are countries that have gas or oil.
5th in terms of 5th lowest?
Yeah. Believe it or not, 5th lowest.
Out of how many?
It's about 20, 20-something countries.
You're expecting 6, right?
Right. Wow.
Wow, okay.
Imagine what they're paying.
So it could be worse, that's what you're telling us. Oh, dear. All right, so we're going to go to news in a second, but definitely want to... Can you guarantee that it will be only until November? Or are there guarantees in this?
If I was able to guarantee that, we'd be very rich right now. Because it all depends on the market and the cost of fuel. Come November, we're going to go back to the real-time market pricing, along with what is being supplemented by the hedge that remains. Yeah. So it's just a real-time pass-through of the fuel costs. But all of the market forecasts are that the fuel is going to trend down, barring any, thing on the worldwide market.
Yeah.
On the worldwide.
All right, so we're going to go to the news. So I don't want to ask. Let me just throw it out there. You can start, and we'll pick it up after the news. But how does all this factor into the legacy debt issue that you have at BPL? And we know that there was going to be the rate reduction bond, and that has been scrapped. But how are you dealing with the legacy debt?
Okay. How much hours we get? You want to take that one after the news? Because that's going to take a little while
I'm
to
sure. All
explain that.
right, so think about that, and then we'll get to the news, and we'll pick this up on the other end. And then we want to talk about load shedding and machines and equipment and all that exciting stuff. A whole lot more to get to with the CEO and COO of BPL right here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
My island's in the sun, carnival time is here. We could be taken scraping, winding up and whiskey haven. Give me the cowbells, give me the drums. We're gonna party till the morning come. Y'all wind up your waist, like you come to mash up the place. It's the Haiti carnival, and I say, my island's in the sun, carnival time is here. 'Cause my night is a party. My island's in the sun, carnival time is here. Got the bacon scraping, winding up and misbehaving. 700 islands run through me. I'm Bahamian, this push give me plenty energy. This conquer party, rock and sex, multi-gata, drinking gin and coconut water.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We're streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us 422-4796. And now at 8:23, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. We've got high pressure that will weaken across the area and produce light to moderate breezes, so for much of the islands. A slight increase in tropical moisture will enhance shower activity, even with the looming Saharan dust that we have, just the remnants of that now. Boaters and beachgoers should be alert for waterspout activity, and there's still a risk of rip currents along eastern shorelines in the southern Bahamas. And everybody's being advised to remain hydrated and take frequent breaks when doing outdoor activities, as heat indices will again be well into the triple digits today. So for today, for the northwest Bahamas, partly sunny, hazy, hot, and humid with widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. For the central and southeast Bahamas, partly sunny, hot, and a bit breezy with widely scattered showers and a few possible thunderstorms. Temperatures today getting up to 93 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius, but the heat index will make it feel like it's 108 Fahrenheit, 42 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 82 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. In your extended outlook, weak surface pressure will maintain hot conditions, but gentle to locally fresh breezes. Meanwhile, an upper-level trough will support an increase in showers and thunderstorms through Thursday. So for tomorrow, Wednesday, partly cloudy, hot, and humid with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Thursday, partly sunny, hot, and humid again with widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. In the tropics, we've got two areas we're watching. We've got a tropical wave just east of the Windward Islands producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms Development of the system, if any, should be slow during the next day or so. It has only about a 10% chance of formation during the next 7 days. Then there's a weak trough of low pressure a few hundred miles south-southwest of Bermuda. That has a 20% chance of formation during the next 7 days. We're going to watch that one closely. It's closer to us, but we'll keep you posted on that one. That is your morning blend weather check, though, brought to you by Bahamas First. Visit firstonlineinsurance.com and select a Bahamas First agent to purchase, pay, or renew your car or home insurance 100% online, or just stop by any Bahamas First agent. Bahamas First, celebrating 40 years, is the first Bahamian general insurance company. What's first for you comes first for us. And time for another check of your traffic, brought to you by RBC. Get in gear with an RBC auto loan. In your real-time traffic, Mile Butler Highway, it's busier now, and especially if you are, just north of Fire Trail, heading toward Tonic Williams-Darling Highway. You can see that heavy traffic near Harold Pond. Traffic still backed up a bit on Tonic Williams-Darling Highway as well. Gladstone Road, much better alternate route for you. Only until you get to about Munnings Road, you're going to see that traffic heading northbound to JFK Drive. Over on Blue Hill Road, just north of Soldier, it's busy as you head northbound to Independence Drive and East Street between Soldier and East-West Highway, Independence Drive, looking busy for you northbound this morning. On West Bay Street, we're seeing some congestion eastbound to the roundabout with New Providence Highway near Saunders Beach. And Robinson Road between Soldier and Old Trail. Well, actually not so bad, but just as you get closer to the intersection with Old Trail. Elsewhere, manageable for you this morning. That's your real-time traffic and your morning blend traffic alert, brought to you by RBC. Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/gear up for an RBC auto loan. And we're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Duquesa Dean. We are talking with the CEO of BPL, Siobhan Cambridge, and COO, Tony Seymour. Before the break, asked you about the legacy debt situation. How are we looking with that? What are we going to do? How are you going to tackle this issue?
Okay. So the legacy debt basically is debt. In 2015, the government did a revision of the Electricity Act. And so the Electricity Act 2015 formed the new entity BPL. And so the decision was made to set BPL on a path that it could be a new entity under a new management structure, which was supposed to be the, managed by the private entity at the time. Mm-hmm. So the legacy debt would have been all of the debt that BEC would have amassed before that. It is a debt that belongs to the parent company. It has to be serviced. We as a people are going to have to pay it. At some point. It's money that's spent. And how do you address that? That's going to have to be dealt with in a tariff study or a rate review. But the new entity, BPL, also has some significant investments that it needs to make, and that we as a people have to make the decision that if we want our entity to be more efficient, we want the quality of service to improve, we're going to have to invest for these efficiency enhancements. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? In short, that means that our base rate is probably going to have to adjust up. But what I can tell you is when the base rate adjusts up, it's going to give us the efficiencies that will drive the fuel costs down. And the downward trend in the fuel cost should more than offset the upward increase that is required in the base rate to finance and facilitate that. So the net impact to the consumer will be a lower rate. But we have.
Can you guarantee that? Because, won't that depend on the fuel prices and if that escalates in the future?
All of our modeling, but basically, the efficiency enhancements that we have projected or that we would wish to put in place based on our business plan are geared towards moving away from fossil fuel and our dependence on fossil fuel. So that's going to eliminate the risk associated with the market volatility of the fossil fuel. Mm-hmm. But as the old saying goes, you have to spend money to make money. So at some point, we as a people are going to have to make that decision. And I'm a consumer. I'm not saying give us the money to do these things and we are not able to produce. I'm not saying give us the money to do these things without a proper plan. The planning and the modeling shows that it can work. It's being utilized elsewhere. This isn't rocket science, or we're not inventing anything new. It's all numbers. Numbers don't lie. So we have to service the legacy debt, but we also have to finance the improvements that we want to get the efficiencies and the quality of service. As a people, we want 21st century service, but we want to pay 20th century rates. And it doesn't add up. You get what you pay for.
And you said it earlier, the last time you had a base increase was when?
2010.
2010.
Name me one product in this country where the price has not increased since 2010.
Yeah, we were talking about this off here, but I was telling you, well, at least those things you don't really need. You can afford to, like, I could maybe save up for that at another time. With electricity, it's a little bit different.
I like the fact that you say that you don't need them. So can we really afford not to make the investment in our electricity infrastructure? Can we afford not to?
Wow. So any timelines for this? How soon do you need this to happen? I mean, I guess you need this yesterday, right?
We're doing the tariff study, and then it's just up to the decision makers to implement it.
Yeah. I wanted to get to that later, but since you mentioned it, let's talk about that tariff study. We were talking about this off here. This sounds really interesting, but explain that to us. What does that mean, and what changes are we likely to see as a result of this?
Okay, so the short version of it is that the utility needs a certain revenue to sustain its operations. So basically, it's called what we call the revenue requirement. So you set the tariff so that you're able to meet your revenue that's required. Fortunately for BPL, it's a state-owned enterprise, and we're not a profit-making entity, so there's really no markup on it. It's more or less what is required to sustain the utility. So it's to determine what our revenue requirement is based on our current operational needs and our capital plans going forward, and then to make sure that the tariff is in place to support that or able to pay that. And in that is also servicing the legacy debt.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're doing this now.
Right. So the tariff study is basically, and in a regulatory world, what you do is you set out all these things, you go to the regulator and you say, this is our expenses, this is how much units that we projected to sell over the course of a certain period of time, and so this is the rate we have to charge the customer to be able to meet those expenses. What I can tell you is at the moment, we're not meeting our revenue requirement.
Wow. Wow. And how soon before this is finished, the study, and before you can implement this?
The study, I think the RFP is ready to go. You'll probably see it in the next month or two. And then there's one thing to do the study, and then there's the next thing to implement the results.
And you're going to need government approval and all that?
Regulatory and our shareholders' approval.
Okay. Now, some of this we were talking about off here. Through this, is this right, that we will hear BPL say things that we hear other utility companies say around the world about peak hours and off-peak and all that stuff?
So part of the tariff study is also to implement some of the revenue collection or billing things that are being done in what we call the new utility model. So the new utility model has things in it like EV rates, time of use rates. There are all the different rate categories. Right now we have basically three. We have residential, commercial, and industrial. But there are places where they have stuff like for medical facilities, there are stuff for auditoriums, there, like I told you, there are special rates for EVs, there are vulnerable consumer rates, all of these things. So when you do a comprehensive tariff study, it's all about making your product accessible and affordable to all consumers. Electricity isn't one of those things where it's, for the haves and not the have-nots. As you said, it's essential. The temperature outside is like 98, 99 degrees. AC is almost now a lifeline product, necessity.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's like, there's a process for the rollout as well. So that's could be a projected 2-3 years before you get your regulatory and shareholders approvals, and then what would be a timeline?
And it's okay. I anticipate the study probably the study at the level that we're looking at is probably going to be a 6 month to a year study for a real comprehensive study, because we're also talking some progressive things like demand side management and stuff where you get a special rate to allow the utility to control things like your AC loading and your EV chargers and all these type of things. Because as we're talking about it off air, I said that when you get demand in peak requires you to have additional capacity. So if you can shift some of the demand from your peak to your low points, you're better able to utilize the current capacity that you have. So you don't have to make that capital investment in the extra capacity.
Yeah.
And so that keeps the cost down for all consumers. Not only does it keep the cost down for consumers, it also allows what we call the load factor or better utilization of the resources that we currently have. So that when you start talking about recovering the cost of a generator, if I can run that generator for longer periods of time, I'm able to recover the cost of that generator quickly.
All right, so you said EV rates, and people are messaging us saying, whoa, what? So a lot of people making the switch, a lot of companies saying they're going all electric. Every time we talk about electric vehicles, people text us, tweet us, and say BPL is challenged and can't handle if we all go electric. Is that the reality? Would there be a problem if all of us plugged in? What would be going on?
That's not the reality. The reality is, like with everything else, it requires planning. All of the major manufacturers are projected to go to a large portion of their products being EV by 2025 or thereabouts. If you look at all the electricity journals and the conferences and stuff that we go to, most of the markets are predicting that that's going to cost about a 20% increase in your demand. If we look at New Providence alone, right now we're peaking at about 275 megawatts. And that's 275 megawatts after our forecast for this year was to be around 265 megawatts. So this heat wave already has us about 10 megawatts above. 20% on top of that is another 54 megawatts. Our largest increment plant right now is 30 megawatts, so that's about 2 more generators, large size generators at $1.5 to $2 million per generator. So if we're able to incentivize the EV people to charge during off-peak hours, we can do away with adding those 2 extra generators. So it's just about and the only way to do that is through the time of use rates to incentivize people. Because if it costs you the same amount to charge in the middle of the night as it costs you to charge during the peak hours, most of us, maybe those of us in the utility business who know the demand that's putting on the system may set ours, but others won't. They just charge it whenever they feel like it.
Yeah.
So it's just planning. And so we have to plan with that in mind. That's all part of our forecast for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
The increase in integration of EVs. We also have things that we're looking at increasing the integration of renewables into our mix to kind of offset some of the costs associated with that.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get back to renewables in a bit. We know that a few weeks ago there were issues. We had to do a little bit of load shedding. I'm knock on wood. Every time I speak about it, something horrible happens. And I set the microwave clock. And I set the microwave clock. That's usually the end. But it's been a few days, and we've stayed on. So that's encouraging. But how are we looking? Are we doing any more load shedding? What exactly is the situation right now?
So we're not load shedding. I think the misconception is that every time there's a power outage, that it is a load shedding situation.
Right.
And it's not. Load shedding implies that there's insufficient generation to meet the current demand at any given time. And that is not the case. In New Providence, we have sufficient generation to meet the peak demand. However, there are intermittent issues in other areas. There are cable faults, traffic accidents that can hit poles, trees in the lines clashing. That sort of thing can cause outages in your particular area, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a generation shortfall.
Load shedding is less scary to me than collapse or failure. Right? Because that scares me.
Yeah.
But at least load shedding, will only be a little while. But I don't like any of them. But it's that scary. But okay, you're not doing that.
We're not doing that. And then, of course, there's still planned maintenance going on. We have tree trimming exercises going on. And because we don't do live line work presently, anytime there's maintenance that needs to be done in a particular area, that requires us to shut off the power to carry out that work. If we have contractors that are doing tree trimming for us, some of our experts who have been in the field for a while, they're comfortable trimming around live lines. But if we have contractors that are doing the work, it is safer for us to just shut the power off and allow them to clear the lines, which eventually reduces the number of outages that you would experience in your area.
Right.
Because, if there's some wind, heavy rains and the like, the trees aren't falling across the lines, especially as we prepare for hurricane season.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Is there any way that we can improve our communication of those planned outages so residents are aware of, when those will occur?
We do send out public notices, and we post them on our Facebook page, social media, and the like. And we try to do, in residential areas, we try to do it, in the day when most people are at work, so they're not severely impacted. However, if there are emergency situations, failures, our emergency teams, our standby crews, they go out and they work throughout the night, day and night, until they can get supply restored to certain areas.
We know a few years ago it was a big problem. I'm sure, I don't know, has it changed? There'd be an accident, a minor accident, but it would knock out the power for, it seems, miles. Is the system still that sensitive? Have there been any improvements in that?
So there have been improvements. We have smart relays, we have auto reclosers, we have line fault indicators that help us isolate a problem or identify where a problem exists a lot faster than we were able to. So there are some feeders now that if there's a transient fault, for example, if a bird comes between two phases and it will get electrocuted and it will die. So the system would see that transient.
That would cause a blackout?
No. What I'm saying is with the smart relays now, what happens is the relay will see the transient fault, it will open, and then it will reclose itself after a preset length of time. So once it realizes that, okay, this fault is now cleared, it's safe for me to restore supply, it will automatically reclose the breaker. Previously, if something like that happened, it would trip the breaker. Someone would have to manually go to that substation, patrol the line to see that, okay, I don't see any issue. It may have been a transient fault, and now I have to manually reclose this breaker. These things are now done automatically, which reduces the time that you would see an outage. So you may see your lights blink off for a few seconds and then blink back on, and you say, oh, what was that? It's likely that an auto recloser may have opened, the fault may have cleared, it reclosed, and your power is restored.
Now, CEO Siobhan Cambridge, you issued a statement a few weeks back about two pieces of equipment being taken offline for regular maintenance. Right. And many were questioning, why is that happening in the middle of the summer? Explain that to us, how that works. And
So it's not really happening in the middle of the summer. Our peak season tends to run from about May through September. And so from October to April, that's the window for us to maintain our generators. We have 7 of the units, the one in particular that is out. And basically, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to carry out an overhaul, or a month on each one of those.
Wow.
If you start to add the numbers, you will see that 7 months will take us beyond March. And so we're just at those last 2 units in the cycle. So one might say, why can't you all maintain more than one at a time? The space allocation in that particular station does not allow for it. The staff complement doesn't allow for it. And so we're maintaining them as fast as we can in accordance with our schedule.
Okay.
And also, these 2 particular engines have also faced some minor delays due to the current supply chain issues that are being experienced worldwide.
Yeah. We all had to learn how to pronounce Wärtsilä a couple of years ago. And we remember the big engines being paraded through the streets from the port to Clifton. And in the statement recently, we understand the contract with them has been terminated. Explain what happened there, and are any of these engines still in use? What exactly is going on?
Aside from the 2 that are currently still undergoing their maintenance in the maintenance cycle, which should be wrapped up by the end of this month, they're all able to be utilized. We're able to run 5 of them at any given point in time.
Able to be, or you are doing it?
No, we are running 5
Okay.
At any given point in time.
Mhm.
And so 5 are running right now as is in line with our dispatch schedule and our maintenance schedule. The contract, we still have a relationship with Wärtsilä. Wärtsilä is the engine manufacturer. They're the supplier of all of our spares and what have you. What was terminated was the operation and maintenance contract with Wärtsilä.
All right.
But that was just taken over by BPL's in-house management, and that was taken over for some operational efficiency measures as well as for some economic reasons.
Right.
It just made more economic sense in terms of there was duplication of specific staffing resources, and it made no sense given our current financial challenges to be trying to operate 2 separate entities when we were better able to utilize the staff that we have across both plants.
Okay.
And especially considering the proximity, they're all in the same yard.
So the 5 Wärtsilä engines are still
There's 7.
7.
But we run 5 at any given point in
Okay.
time.
All right, okay. Still in use.
Yes.
All right. All right. All right. So there's some confusion. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But Shell North America and Shell Bahamas, and who's doing what and what is what. Do we have a relationship with Shell North America? Are you in negotiations with them still? Where do things stand, and what is the difference between those 2 entities? What can you explain?
There are a number of negotiations going on, but those are being dealt with at a higher level than at our level. Right now, our relationship from a fuel perspective is that we have a fuel contract with Shell West, and Shell West then distributes that fuel locally through its affiliate, Focal, and that's the extent of our current relationship with Shell. There are some higher order discussions taking place with a number of entities around the LNG and the possibilities associated with LNG.
Right. All right. So that was going to be my next question. LNG, where do things stand? Is that still higher, or can you say what the goal is and what you're hoping to achieve with LNG?
As I mentioned earlier about our business plan and the goal to get to a state of better efficiency and quality service, one of the things is that LNG is a greener fuel than the fuels that we're currently using, ADO and HFO. And so for us, LNG is the end goal. Well, not really the end goal, but as a goal as we attempt to get greener, because there's now even discussions about hydrogen and green hydrogen and all these things. So the industry is moving, and it's moving in leaps and bounds. Our intent is to make our operations more efficient, and our prime minister's on the world stage talking about global warming and all these things. So we're trying to get leaner and greener. And so LNG and the integration of renewables is a part of that plan. But with LNG, it's going to require us to put in the facilities to land LNG and store LNG. And then it's also going to require us to ramp up our current generation plant to be able to burn LNG.
Interesting.
So all of these, again, are investments. All of these are considered when you do your tariff study, and all of these are going to facilitate or manifest themselves as a slight increase in that base rate. But in the long term, it's going to bring your fuel costs down, and it's going to bring your overall bill down. And I'm going to keep saying that.
Yeah. Again, realistically, timelines. What are we aiming for?
Realistically, you're talking about 2 to 3 years before you really see any appreciable thing in your bill. But it's just like everything else. You got to go through a little pain before you get to the glory days.
A little, okay.
Wait, so I want to understand. The base rate will go up, and the current fuel rate will remain the same through that period until you get the facility?
No, it's all a matter of how you structure the tariff. You could structure the tariff where you can put some of the savings up front. It just will increase the period of recovery. It's ways to do it. You could front load it, you could back load it, you could spread it out, you could budget bill it. It's just a matter of what the appetite is and what the regulator and the shareholder has. But at the end of the day, there's no free lunch.
But that's what you're proposing. It has not been approved as yet,
it's not been approved as yet. This is all conceptual. It's all numbers on paper. Again, you have to make the investment. You have to bring it into fruition, then you start to reap the harvest, so to speak.
Yeah. All right, so we only have about 10 more minutes with you. But on renewables, let's get back to that. 30% by 2030. What percent are we at now? 2030 is fast approaching. What are we looking at?
So we're currently at about less than 5%.
Oh, dear.
We did recently complete a 25 megawatt hour battery storage system at our Blue Hills Power Station site, which gives us the capacity to install about 20 megawatts of solar. So that's something that we're currently in the planning stages for.
And what will that do? How will that help? Or what differences would we see as a result of that?
So that's 20 megawatts of energy that you wouldn't have to burn a fossil fuel generator to produce. So the idea is that with the batches of solar that are installed, in order to see any appreciable reduction in your bills, battery storage has to go along with it. Otherwise, if there's any cloud cover, if it's a rainy day, and the solar panels can't be used, you still need fossil fuel generation to supplement that. What the battery storage will do is, if there's any cloud cover, the battery storage will pick up, and it will give us the ride-through capabilities that we would need without having to put on an additional generator.
Yeah. And if I may interject there, the basic thing is our rough calculations right now are showing that 20 megawatts of solar will save us about $30 million a year in fuel costs.
Wow.
And the battery storage system, Tony's being modest, she don't like to brag about it, but the battery storage system that is currently in place is saving us about $3 million a month in fuel costs, just as we're able to eliminate what we call spinning reserve. In order to deal with the variability during the course of the day, what you would normally do is run about 10% more spare on your engines to be able to deal with when Dwight turns on his 10 air conditioning units, so the system doesn't shut down.
Right.
And that would normally require another engine to just be running to provide that capability. With the battery storage, we're able to shut that engine down and let the batteries handle that variability, and that's saving us $3 million a month.
Okay, wow. And this is at Blue Hills, you said?
Yes.
Can this be done elsewhere for New Providence? I know space is always an issue, apparently. Do we have any capabilities of a solar field? Is that something that is in the pipeline?
Yes, like I mentioned, in the planning phases for the 20 megawatts, it requires land acquisitions. We have to do environmental impact assessments, geotechnical and topographical studies, and that sort of thing. So we are looking at some areas that can be utilized for solar farms in New Providence as well as in the Family Islands. The project execution unit out of the Office of the Prime Minister are also looking at rolling out microgrids in some of the southern islands, as well as Abaco and I think Exuma for government offices and clinics and that sort of thing, to give them an added level of redundancy, especially during storms and the like. So there are a lot of plans in place to move this forward and move it forward very quickly. Land is always an issue, but it's a priority of the government. So I'm sure that land will be made available for these projects.
Should new subdivisions be thinking about this, like incorporating a little solar park? Are we encouraging that? Is that where we need to be going?
Anything that's green should be encouraged at this point. We're all in this together. There's this concept of community solar. A lot of people don't have the means, or a lot of our homes as currently constructed may not be properly configured to take panels and what have you. So wherever there's green spaces, we have some proposals or some ideas with regard to community solar as well. But for new subdivisions, the progressive thing is even for new homes, people should be looking at your southward facing roof surfaces, or how you want to because not only does that allow you a source of generation, those panels also create a barrier from that sun beating down on your roofs. It's almost like an insulatory effect as well. So it's twofold benefit.
All right, so how does this work? Does BPL need to be involved if you want to do this? Is it IRCA? Is it all of you?
It requires all stakeholders working together. So it's us, the Ministry of Works, the Building Code, the homeowners, the banks, looking at them as bankable projects and what have you. We just have to get serious about it if we want to get there.
Yeah.
It's not the government's responsibility. It's not BPL's. It's not yours. It's all of us working together.
This might be a whole show. We have to plan this, but I know there's still so much confusion about what individuals can do with solar, and whether grid tie-in is real now. I believe it is now, right? You can do
Grid
that.
tie is real, and the programs exist. You can look at our website. You can check out ERCO's website. They have the small-scale renewable generation for consumers who have, I think it's up to 100 kW. And it's sized based on your current bill and consumption.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant for you to become an independent power producer and sell power to us.
Right.
I heard some erroneous stuff being out there on the air yesterday. But basically, the sizing of it is supposed to be able to meet your needs,
Mm-hmm.
and then any surplus energy goes to BPL, and you're compensated for it, because stuff I heard yesterday was saying they're giving BPL free energy. That's not the case. Anybody who's given BPL free energy did not register properly for the program. And so they're a rogue user at this point, because there is an act. It is part of the regulations. It's out there. And then there's...
compensating in terms of your bill is reduced, or you actually get...
You get credit.
Okay.
For you're compensated at the rate of the fuel charge, nonetheless. So when the fuel charge goes up, your compensation goes up. So right now, it's a good business to be in if you have renewables on your roof and you're supplying to the grid. And then for the larger entities, they have what they call the, I think it's the renewable energy self-generation, which is for the commercial consumers, and that's anywhere from 100 kW up to a megawatt.
Yeah.
And there are a number of entities out there that are participating in the program.
I was going to ask you, do you have any numbers, commercial and residential?
I couldn't give you the specific. I've been out of that side of it for a while now.
Yeah.
But as the COO said, it's about 5% integration right now, and that includes everybody. That's the private participants as well as the little utility scale that's out there. But
It's pretty low.
But in order to get to 30%,
It's low.
but believe it or not, with one or two utility scale projects, which is the 20 megawatts and within the next year that we have planned or we envision for New Providence, and the 60 megawatts in New Providence within the course of the next 3 years, we would make an appreciable dent in that. The microgrids that are going in place in MyCal, I think collectively they're going to be about 5 megawatts. And it's not just us. I think GVPC is doing some things as well. That's going to add to the national penetration numbers.
Yeah. Like I said, we need to do a whole show on this, because somebody's asking here, why can't I get fully off the grid? There's nothing stopping you from doing that, right?
The way the legislation is structured right now, it doesn't allow for residential consumers to go fully off the grid. And I think that was deliberate, because to go fully off the grid requires a little bit more involvement than it's perceived that residential consumers would have, and so it's more to protect residential consumers. But for commercial consumers, they're presumed to have thought through the risk, and so it's fully available to commercial consumers. But the legislation does not accommodate residentials going where there is supply from the utility. If you're in a remote location where there's no supply from the utility, of course you could do whatever you want.
Okay. So we talked a lot about solar. Are there others that you had mentioned hydrogen earlier? Other renewables that we're looking at? People talk about water and like the glass window bridge. Can't we harness the Atlantic Ocean somehow, some way?
I know there's a lot going on with some OTEC and what have you. It's just using the coolness of the ocean to facilitate some heat transfer stuff. Matter of fact, I think one of the hotels is utilizing it as a part of their cooling system right now, and that has reduced their demand. It's not probably something that makes sense for me or you to do at our home, but for large commercial entities, there's wind down in the southern Bahamas, but where we have the wind, we don't have the load. So I've seen some people in discussions about using that wind capacity to run electrolyzers and to create hydrogen fuel, and then take that hydrogen and ship it around to produce green hydrogen. So it, again, to do these things requires money, or it requires some, I guess, a private investor with the capacity. But there are a number of things out there. But
all right, really quickly, we got 2 minutes, less than that. So let's see, rapid fire questions. Family Islands, Andros, Eleuthera, what's happening? How are they looking right now?
So the power station in North Andros experienced a fire recently. We did send some temporary generation there to get the grid back up and running. So it's fully restored now. We sent 3 containerized units there. We are looking at a long-term strategy for Andros that includes solar, battery, and generation, so a hybrid solution. We are currently in discussions surrounding land acquisition, which would require the power station to be relocated because you need additional space. We would need about 20 acres, I think, for about 4 megawatts of solar batteries, and then conventional generation, of course, to supplement. So kind of like a hybrid solution. That is the long-term strategy. Well, when I say long-term, 12 to 18 months kind of rollout plan for Andros. There were some outages in Eleuthera recently, so we do apologize to the customers in those areas that were impacted. But we do have the Hatchet Bay Power Station fully restored now. There was a fault at the Hatchet Bay Power Station that we were able to get resolved. Harbor Island has seen a remarkable load increase. So we did send additional generation to Harbor Island as well. So that should be connected shortly. We've sent additional generation to Exumbo. The heat wave has increased the demand, I think, more than anyone would have anticipated this summer. So a lot of the family islands have seen the impact of that. And what we are doing now is trying to shore up all of our generation assets. And so based on the load growth that we've seen this summer, we realized that some expansion would be needed in some of these areas before next summer.
Well, there's been a lot of talk a few years ago about prepaid meters. Is that still something under consideration? Where do we stand with that now?
Prepaid meter is something that's still being considered. Prepaid is, again, a part of the whole concept of leveraging technology to make our operations more efficient. There are benefits to prepaid in that we visited one jurisdiction recently where they have prepaid, and so it's done away with all of their, under-recovered billings. So people pay up front. It's just like the transition with the smartphones. People go to prepaid, so now the phone companies aren't running behind you to pay your bill. But, and a lot of people talk about prepaid, but I don't know if we appreciate as a people what that means. The same way when your minutes run out on your phone.
That's pretty scary.
When the minutes run out on your light, that's lights out. But and we would welcome that because it would really improve our collections numbers. But prepaid also requires an infrastructure to operate on, and that's quite a significant investment. We also have that in our 5-year rollout plan. But there are some little pocket-type pilots that we are going to be trying in the interim, but the massive prepaid infrastructure is a part of our 5-year rollout.
So not right now, maybe in a few years. Okay. And are you estimating bills? Are BPL people coming around really checking your meters?
Again, we've leveraged the technology. It's been in place now for about the last 5 years. People expect to see the old meter reader come in to read the meter. That doesn't happen anymore. We have a guy in a car with a computer. He rides through your neighborhood. It picks up the signals from your meter. If your estimated is for some reason that the system missed you, and maybe your meter is inaccessible, it wasn't sending the signal on that day or whatever, and there's normally an indication on your bill that it was estimated, and the option is always open to you. If you perceive that your bill was estimated, go outside, just take a look at your meter. They're digital now. It's not the old clock systems that were hard to read. And you can look at that number, compare it to what's on your bill, and if it's off, you call into the office, take a picture, send it in, and the adjustments or special meter read will be sent out to investigate and correct it.
All right. Really quickly, the Electrical Workers Union giving a 30-day ultimatum to address issues. What can you tell us about this? Are you in negotiations with them? What are we looking at here?
To be honest, they have yet to bring those issues to us. So when they bring them to us, then we'll be able to address them.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Well, we could talk a whole lot more, but I know you all have to go. You have a big day, but thank you so much for talking with us. I'm glad that you all made it. Siobhan Cambridge and Tony Seymour, thank you. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
All right. We're going to break for news, and we've got a lot of commercials to get in here. We'll be back, though, with Morning Blend Business. We'll get to some of your questions and comments when we get back. Stay with us.
All right. Here we go now. When I was a little boy running around the yard, I used
used to hear the older men talking by the bar. They talk about the things they did when they were young and strong, and how things are better now than it was before. I didn't understand what they meant back then. I'm a little older now. I think I comprehend when they say age ain't nothing but a number. You're just as old as you feel. Even though I move a little slower, everything I do is twice as sweet.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. Welcome back for Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan along with Dean. Okay, so I know, we didn't get phone calls. I'm very sorry. While we were talking with BPL, the CEO and COO, and they were prepared to answer the calls, but I had a whole lot of questions. And hopefully we'll have them back at some point and we'll have you all ask the questions. But there were some important things we wanted to get to. So we saw the calls, and we've got a whole lot of text messages. Hopefully, between Duquesne and myself, we can answer some of the questions based on what we learned today. Been making notes as well. And so let's talk about BPL and power and what you heard in our discussion with Siobhan Cambridge and Tony Seymour just now on the show. All right, let's go to this call, and we'll get to your text messages. A whole lot of messages. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
God, it is Zach Uniways, along with you, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
We need justice, law, and order in the Bahamas here. Dwight, I must say to you that you do not let the Bahamian public down on our Guardian Radio.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're decent with your comment and your question.
But
the thing is, I disapprove of some of the questions, some of the answers in which they had given. Okay? According to my experiences with BPL, people could faint, when they let the current go off. And the thing is, they just have it off for so long. My other point is,
But before you go on, so you heard what happens there, right? So sometimes it is load shedding, sometimes it is maintenance, but sometimes it isn't their fault. Sometimes it is an accident or something.
The thing is, Dwight, those hotels and those rich places doesn't go off when we go off. When it goes off.
Well, I don't know. I've been in Atlantis before where the power was off for a few seconds before the generator kicks in.
Okay, Dwight. Also, I think they should give us a transcript every so often, because their comment sometimes doesn't add up. Give us a transcript so we can read it for ourselves. Take, for instance, how I'm physically blind, right? Like the handicap, right? Mm-hmm. They are unable to get to their meter and stuff like that, So give us a transcript so we could go or let somebody look at it and see what's happening for us.
You want BPL to give you?
Right.
Okay, so you don't get your bill, and they email the bills now, or you can go online.
Well, I usually call to get my bill.
Okay.
And I don't really like that,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if you can get them to email it, then you can get someone to read it to you and look at it for you.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Dwight, you do a beautiful job, man.
Well, thank you very much.
Man, you're just super. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm sure some will disagree with you today. I'm sure, but okay, I tried. All right, so continue to call in, and let's talk about what you heard. They have some plans. They have some interesting plans. Those things will make a difference. I know they're talking about 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's over time.
I wish some of those were 3 to 5 months.
Yes.
Because if we could know the off-peak hours and when to do certain things, that will be a real game changer.
Correct. It could help us plan and manage.
I would wake up at 2:00.
I'm telling you,
to do stuff.
If it was incentivized, like you said, yes.
If it were,
I'd get up
can
at
you
2 to
imagine?
do laundry.
Half the price to charge
Correct.
something at 2:00.
Yeah. I hope we can get there.
Could change my whole life.
I hope we can get there.
My goodness. Oh boy. Let's see if we can accelerate that plan. And they sound like they're interested in the prepaid meter. I mean, I don't think that would work for me, but I can imagine there are a few people that would be great for. And if you could tell you're running low,
If you could monitor
restock,
it, right?
Right.
That I think that could work well for people to help manage their bills as well.
Absolutely.
Right. But something the caller said, I want to just go back to very quickly, is that if we can have more. I guess I'll use the word effective, but more frequent or more visibility of information coming to the public.
Yeah.
So, because when you know the reason behind something, it's easier to buy into it or to understand it.
Do you know that this is the first CEO of BPL I don't remember if we had one before the last. It's been a long time since the CEO of BPL has been on the show.
Wow.
Oh, I think back Power Secure, that was the last time, and that was
a long time.
That was not a Bahamian CEO.
Wow.
That was a management company that was hired. That was the last time.
Wow.
So there's been not much. We've had the chairman, we've had representatives, and we appreciate all of that. But to have that, and we have had the COO on, but so.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just really refreshing to have the ultimate, the CEO come on and have a conversation and say, this is what.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you remember last week I was very angry.
Yes.
I'm still not happy.
Right, but you understand a little bit better, right? You understand a little bit better. So that's the difference when you have information.
I understand a little better.
Yeah.
Check me next month when I get the new bill. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, November, they say, we'll start to see the fuel surcharge go down.
Yeah.
I mean, it really hurts when you're paying more for fuel than consumption. That's not nice. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, you got yourself kind of okay, but only coming down, you're kind of like ease off them. But I'll say this. So I was one of them who was always advocating for them to get LNG. And how they did that, when they said they was going to do it, we'd have been in much, much better shape. They have a old debt, and you know who the old debt is for. Okay? Now, let's say they get the LNG generators, and it costs like 10 cents a kilowatt, right? They're going to say, okay, to the Bahamian public, you have to pay 20 cents a kilowatt because we got this old debt we're going to get off. And then the next 3 years, when you pay the 20 cents, then we'll go back to 10 cents. I think that's what they should have done to get rid of the old debt. But they refuse to give up the oil, and that's why we're in this scenario, what we are in. And again, I was one of them who's always saying LNG is the way to go. Solar is not cheap, and that's what he came on the other side this morning. It's not cheap, But again, hello.
Yeah, well, it sounds like we're finally moving in that direction. Finally.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, but they could have done that long time.
Right,
and then I heard the minister talking about 2030. Man, we could get on LNG way before 2030. That's a bunch of nonsense. The plan is only the building. And then I hear when he tell you say something, but they got to run the pipe. Well, the same way how they do the pipe for the cooking gas, that could be done for LNG. Now, I can tell the Kingdom come to do that. So it's up to them. Like I say, if they had done that years ago, instead of still giving out to these people, catering to whoever, the cost level would have been down cheaper and everything. But they refuse now. They just come to their senses now. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll continue to listen, but again, that's why I'm in this scenario, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's get some more calls in, and then we'll get to your text messages. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
Dwight, having a nice bachelor chicken sauce with a nice avocado just pick out my yard.
You said bachelor?
72-year-old bachelor.
Oh, okay. That's fun times.
Cook my own chicken sauce. Very little salt. Plenty sour and goat pepper.
I thought you were saying the chicken was a bachelor.
Plenty onion.
Okay.
And plenty potato.
Sounds good.
Are you going to bring us some? You're trying to make us hungry here.
And then I grow all my stuff I grow in my yard. I could put my avocados now because they're in abundance. They're all over my yard.
Where you live again?
Avocado, pear. You know them big long avocado. You know them big long pear. What they call bottleneck. I got 2 trees of them growing in my yard. Mine is about 12 inches long. I could measure it with a tape and prove it to you. But I suffered to be so. I think I've been trying to encourage the Haymans to get into backyard farming or farming. From I moved down here in 2006, I've been encouraging my neighbors, bananas and everything I got in my yard. No crabgrass, no bougainvillea, no hibiscus, no nothing, but you can't eat.
Beautiful, Sparky. Did you hear BPL? What did you think of that?
Yeah, that's what I was coming to. But, I like my little dialogue.
Yeah, well, I see.
I like my little time. You talk to who's a chronic caller.
You were on our show to run till 12.
Proud of the name. I've been doing it so long.
Okay.
Made me famous. I'm more famous than the Prime Minister. All of them. Put them all together, Sparky got them outnumbered.
Wow.
But anyway, I think it's sad that at this day and time, because I remember from the time of Mr. Pinman that the ministries were not made to be profitable. They were made, in his eyes, to be service-oriented. But now it seems that everybody talking about the profits.
Well, you didn't hear BPL say that.
And general managers and CEOs, when they retire or when they're fired, they leave with these $600,000 bills that we got to pay. Or they sue the company, and we never win no case. The client, the suer always win. And we end up with the bills, and our children and grandchildren got to pay these bills. And if you check back, all the companies that they purchase oil and things for, look who they are. Old politicians, old Bahamian businessmen. They don't work they don't want to come away from buying oil. Because those people that own the oil companies are Bahamians, lawyers got shares, businessmen got shares in it. If we stop buying the oil, what they can do? They can lose their money in their business, right? So they want us to keep buying the things. They want us to keep importing stuff. They don't want us to grow our own food because they also have shares in the supermarkets that bring in the stuff. All the AZ Fritches and all the big companies you name, they import things so we can buy from them. And they are always going to be the filthy rich. We can always be over the hill in potholes, suffering from heat and thing in the summer, because nothing's going to change because they want everything to remain the same.
All right, Sparky. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You don't have to get into the name calling there. Boy, oh boy. But as we heard, I know it isn't cheap, but you mentioned neighborhoods, right? That you can come together, perhaps, and see if there's something you can do. Maybe you do have a little bit of space. Maybe you're willing to give a little bit of your yard space, and the other neighbor can do it too, and come together and do a little solar project that can help a few of the houses on your street. Maybe that's something, right? I promise we're going to do it. I heard some other hosts on the station saying they want to do it too. Maybe we'll do a station-wide week of solar and other renewables topics, so people can get the information out there.
Correct.
What is allowed, what's not allowed, and who you can go to find out more information, all that stuff, from the regulator to the companies that are involved, all those things, so everyone can understand. Because we have to take...
We help ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about to say, right? Yeah. It's time for us to help ourselves. In no matter, because we see it, the administrations change, and then all of a sudden the focus changes of the ministry, the corporation. So whatever happens, we will be a little more empowered to deal with our power generation needs.
Correct.
Right. I know it's not cheap, but if we come together.
And the initial investment up front will pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
So.
Good morning, call you on the air.
Good morning to both of you, Dwight, C. Allen Johnson, critical thinker. And Dwight, you just made a very important point concerning the microgrids, right? But you made the point about I didn't hear the full show. I was in another meeting. But you made a point about the changing each time a new administration comes in.
Right.
This shows you that BPL has no plan. Because, first of all, talk is cheap, money by land. And if you actually look at what it requires, a vision, a plan, and a strategy for us to transfer to renewables or to reduce costs, there is absolutely none in existence. They talk a good talk. And I challenge them to publish what they said they just said and everything else. And let me just say, for this LNG, when you say you're going green, you can't use the word LNG. LNG is a carbon. It's part of the carbon class of people. It's like a smaller bullet. You'll get shot with a smaller bullet.
Wow.
So, but BPL is an arbitrage. And until we actually decide that BPL has to be junked and dumped, there has to be a strategy of production across the entire Bahamas before you start about production. In it. There is none. There is absolutely none. Because, and Sparky is absolutely correct. And the fact is that we are a carbon-based taxation system. And so for us to get rid of carbon, as much as the Prime Minister will celebrate his green this and green that, right? We depend on carbon tax. In fact, do you know the government is going to hit a financial bonanza due to the bills that is being generated by BPL? Because what happens is, if you recognize that when the price of goods goes up, government gets more VAT. When your light bill goes up, government gets more VAT, and all these different things cascading through the economy. So it's almost as if there becomes a ripple effect of negative impact on the Bahamian economy. My point in that is that until you could bring an economic model to replace this carbon-based consumption, a lot of people don't stop when we talk about turning the economy green. We don't ever stop to look at the balance from the economics of it as you transition to it. Because look at the government taxation system. We don't have income tax and other different things. And so you pay tax when the trucks move, you pay tax when the cars move, you pay tax when all of these different things move. And so the 5-year celebrities will come in and try to sound good enough to make it for another 5 years. But there is no written strategy. You have not heard a minister yet to express a vision for which a plan and a strategy should be built on. And if you bring there's no way in the world the Minister of Energy, the Minister of the Environment, or even BPL could bring a plan for a strategic reduction of electricity going forward. I'm not talking about hedging and all this garbage that we talk about. I'm talking about an implementable plan for going green or something else. That you tell me that the next administration will come in and tell the Bahamian people, by the way, we are junking it.
All right, so now what you just said, so you say you didn't hear all of it. So BPL, the CEO, saying they have a tariff, they're trying to revise or create a tariff structure. So they do have a plan. The problem is that they have to get IRCA and government approval.
But then you don't have a plan. What you have is a conversation going. That's what I'm saying to you. There is none, and there's less than 2 years or so left in this government administration before we reboot BPL again with a whole group of other people. So I'm saying we already know the 5-year cycle. We're already 2 years into it. And so I'm simply saying there is no plan. What you have is a list of ideas. It's like you said, the National Development Plan is almost 20 years old or 15 years old, whatever amount it is. The technology and everything has changed, and we like to keep referring to it. It doesn't exist. And I'm saying that we need to use language in its proper context of context, so we can understand what it is. And I'm saying to you, we need a vision for BPL, we need a plan, and we need a strategy that examines our current condition. No one can even give you the layout for a smart grid for New Providence on how it's going to be integrated and how it's going to be done. We'll patch over here, and we get a bucket over here, and we get this over there, and with everything else. I challenge them to bring you a laid-out vision, to bring you a written plan, to bring you a written strategy, and how we're going to pay for it.
Okay.
It does not exist.
All right. See, Alan, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Wow.
That was a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I get what he's saying. I think the executives know where they want to go, but again, they don't make the final decision.
Correct.
And so that hampers you greatly.
And that back and forth every 5 years, there's a lot to set back and to progress.
Right.
So there really needs to be a plan that doesn't depend on, or it isn't based on the administration that is currently in, right?
And the
so
new
that's
board members
continuity, correct.
Who think they know everything,
right?
But don't know diddly
that's
squat.
It's insanity to start a plan, work it for 5 years, and then let's just say a new administration come in, and because you are the administration that started that plan, it's kind of scrapped and put aside, and a new plan and a new study, all of these things. So we definitely do need something that continues regardless of the administration.
Yeah, definitely. All right, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning to your host.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, it was a good conversation at BTC. I smiled all the way
BPL.
I'm wondering at the end of the day. But thank God I can keep my power on during the football season coming up next month.
You're hoping.
I'm hoping. Well, yeah. They never let me down, so far in that area.
You live in a very nice place.
My main point is, at the end of the day, what is the cost for the pensioners, the elderly woman across the street, Camp Road in my area, where they pay $30 a month or $40 a month, like the first world countries do? Because all of these upgrades they're talking about, what is the cost? What's the low-end cost?
Well, BPL doesn't work like that. It doesn't take into consideration your age or what you do for a living.
No. What I'm trying to use that to say the average person. The average person. The average person can afford. They cry. The gentleman say he pay $1,000 a month sometimes. You can call it in your show. The average, in the first world countries, the average person only pay, a good friend of mine in Florida, up in those areas, only pay $40 a month. $30. Oh, let's go over to Grand Bahama, not that high, but BPL is more higher than those areas. The point is the price. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I guess. And as we're hearing, the fuel right now is the main reason. The fuel surcharge is the main reason, although he did say they're proposing.
So this liquefied gas, which this liquefied gas they want to go into, would it change that?
He's saying that the combination of the things they want to do, increasing the base rate, LNG would reduce their reliance on fossil fuels.
And good price. Low price, low rate price.
Well, it could eventually result in a more affordable electricity supply.
What you call affordable, which right, $200, $300 a month.
Less than what you're doing, what you're seeing now.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem I have with both of the government. And we continue to, the average person can't continue to pay. Come on, man. You can't eat comfortable. You can't go to a restaurant once in a while. A family with 9 children, 12 children, they won't be able to go to. They won't be able to go to a comfortable restaurant sometimes. Everything got to go on. BPL take the highest of your bill.
One of the highest bills you'll have, yes.
The highest. So the question is, that's where the people want to go, and we can't go there. I don't care what you do. In my opinion, it's almost a waste of time because we have energy. But we don't have low rate price.
Yeah. Hopefully soon. Thanks a lot.
Hopefully so. You won't see that right.
No. You all need to be more optimistic, man. But sooner than they're hoping, right? Because again, 3 to 5 years, that's far. We'd want that sooner than that. But as I hope you were paying attention. Siobhan Cambridge says, "Are you prepared to pay for
the cost?"
this?"
Right. Because the base rate has to come up.
Yeah.
In order for
But like you asked,
Yeah.
right, that you hope that wouldn't happen while we see these elevated
High
fuel
fuel,
costs.
right.
So that would come down, but then the base rate would go up.
Right. And then he
so-
said it may take, maybe 2
Oh,
years before you actually feel the decrease or
Yeah,
you see the
right.
decrease. So there's still a process involved. So
Still some more pain ahead.
no easy fix.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah, no easy
You're going to
fix.
be immune
And
to pain.
the idea of
soon.
prepaying may be more and more attractive.
A lot of people said, I will never do that. May end
That
up
may be
doing
more and more
prepaying.
attractive if you monitor it. It may also give you, as you monitor it, it may also show you where your excess energy may be
Right.
being used and really force you to have a better eye or handle on your usage
right.
as well.
A lot
So
of
it could be a solution for some.
Prepaid people
It
don't
could
make
be.
long phone calls.
They don't.
Right? Like, don't call me. I'll WhatsApp you. Right? So you know how to do, right? No, don't watch
You
this
manage
TV
it,
here.
correct.
You have two TVs on in there? What do you think is this?
Right.
Exactly.
Turn the light off and you go into the next room, right? Yeah,
Don't
you
walk around
right.
with a candle.
Right.
Let's take this call, then we're going to take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you all this morning?
Doing well.
Thank you.
Dwight, you remember yesterday I mentioned thermal energy?
You did. I asked about
I
it.
had mentioned that for several years. Everybody talking about solar energy, but the thermal energy is more easy access for the Bahamas because we are surrounded by deep oceans, okay? Deep water. And I've seen a document that this government is already in conversation with a particular company to get some grant to start this thermal energy on the Family Islands, okay? According to Alfred says, all right? So you could research it on the internet, and you'll see it right there. Government seeking $9 million grant to establish ocean thermal energy conversation.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
But
we asked about it. I mean, but it sounds like the focus is solar.
Yeah, personally, in especially in New Providence, you go about 20 feet and you already hit water. Okay, we can have that thermal energy even for home supply also. I mean, directly, not just for the mega businesses. Okay. So look into it. Everybody's talking about solar, but I think about when the weather conditions come in the hurricane season, the thermal energy, once you planted that into the ground, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I saw just over the weekend, people are showing renewed interest in nuclear power plants and how it's gotten so much safer than 40, 50 years ago, and and cleaner. I mean, there are lots of options.
There are options.
Lots of options.
That will take time.
And money.
Yeah,
and
time
you're
and
going to
money.
need some experts and some people with some skills, and
Correct.
right. So we
The
have
possibilities are there.
Yeah,
And many
absolutely.
possibilities are there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how do we fund them?
I'll take this call. We got to go to the break. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, morning, Dwight again.
Hi.
All of your callers basically are correct, especially the last one. Do what we can do. We don't only have to go fully thermal. We can use a combination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of all because of the makeup of our country.
Mm-hmm.
So we can use wind, everything. But I really wasn't listening to your guest this morning.
You weren't?
Because I wasn't really listening to your guest this morning from BPL because I didn't have 50 years of that. They like Allen say, they opine very gracefully, very gently, but he himself admitted that the people that really do all the saying and the decision making, it's about their pay grade in terms of Focal and Shell West. That's all.
No, he didn't say that. Didn't say
He
that.
said Shell
He said the stakeholders, which largely that's the government, and then the regulator, IRCA. Now you are suggesting something else. I mean, I don't know if you're. Anyway.
No. I heard Shell West and Focal.
No, they came up because we were asking about the relationship with Shell and how it works. And he says they are the fuel supplier. There's still talks with the government and other entities in the Shell global universe, right? Shell North America, but that's what he's saying. They are the fuel supplier.
One important question that you did ask the question, but the answer he gave, I was taken aback by it because he said that the ordinary man are not allowed to come off the grid. right? So, in other words,
residential in area where there is power. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's basically all over. But if that means that's telling me indirectly that the small man can carry the burden, because the companies that he say can go fully off the grid, they're the ones that can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
The small man can't afford it.
All right. So when we do that solar special that we were talking about, the reasons, I cannot remember the reasons right now. We did a show on this before, and they said the reason, whoever the guest was, said the reason why it's best for you not to go entirely off the grid if you are in a community, right? I really can't remember it. But there's a reason. There's a reason. It's a safety issue.
You're talking to a battery backup man at BTC for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know about solar power. I know what's required.
So you think there's no reason why someone shouldn't be allowed to go off grid?
There's no reason why, because the Walker Boys offer that for you to come fully off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the solar panels, it's your battery, it's your inverters. That's it. The only thing you really have to worry about is the type of batteries you get.
Nothing's stopping you from getting 99% of your electricity from your solar system. But you still gotta. But that means you get just a minimal amount from BPL. You could set it up like that, but that's all they require. As the question is saying, that's the legislation requiring you that. So you need to have a little bit.
Yeah, because somebody got to pay them taxes for that fellas. That's all it is. Thanks for taking my call.
It might only be $20 a month. But hey, right?
It'd be interesting to see that legislature and to understand it. So it's great.
All right, let's go to the break, and then we got a whole lot of text messages. We'll see how we do all of this. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Your boom pineapple wine, your $1.50 all the time. Your boom pineapple wine, your $1.50 all the time. Turn around and let me see. Turn around and let me see your boom pineapple wine, your $1.50 all the time. Turn around and let me see. Turn around and let me see your boom pineapple wine, your $1.50 all the time. I got a new dance, hot like pepper pot. From the old to the young, gonna make your body rock. It's really easy, easy peasy. You can do it anywhere. Jump around like you don't care. Sing it. Turn around and let me see. Turn around and let me see your boom pineapple wine, your $1.50 all the time. Turn around.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
We're gonna give you a check every week for a year. Percy's Pension Plan. Island Game, keep you winning. Percy's Pension Plan. Dream big, we will help you live it. Percy's Pension Plan. Island Game, we got you. Percy's Pension Plan. From the friends you can trust. If winning is a must, come play the game you know, cause your best chance is with us. The most trustworthy name is Percy's Island Game. So put 20 on your account and ride this easy train at Percy's Island Game.
The Bahamas Public Parks and Public Beaches Authority invites all private companies and civic organizations to adopt a roundabout. This is your chance to stand out from the crowd, beautify and enhance our local areas for residents and tourists alike, just in time for the 50th anniversary of our independence. With this opportunity, you can engage persons on the go, generate media interest, and promote your company. Stand out and celebrate 50. For more information, you can call 242-604-3750.
Let me ask you a few questions. What's your name?
Pam.
Favorite food?
Steak.
Beer or wine?
Wine.
Is your money safe?
It's under my bed, so I guess so.
Are you serious?
Yeah, why?
Unless your money is in a bank or credit union that's a member of the Deposit Insurance Corporation, there's no guarantee it's safe.
Yeah, but what if something happens to the bank?
Your Bahamian dollar deposits are insured up to $50,000, so you'd still be ahead. Plus, your mattress might catch fire. Then what?
Man, those banks and credit unions are looking good right about now.
Visit the DIC's website at www.dic.bs. Protection for your money, guaranteed with DIC.
We're good for you.
Shopping is so rewarding with
my Fidelity credit card, I get the best prices with price protection. Earn and redeem freedom points at my favorite stores. Get cash back. Plus, I booked a cruise. Get your Fidelity credit card today. Call 356-7764.
It's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, Chester Cooper, says the government hopes to sign another memorandum of understanding with Saudi Arabia to expand cooperation on matters like tech tourism. Cooper explained the idea of tech tourism in a video released by the ministry, where he highlights the government's recent visit to Saudi Arabia to sign that $10 million loan facility that will help the country to enhance the economic development of the tourism industry through the development of the Tourism Development Corporation's business incubation centers. Cooper says his government will look to Grand Bahama for the establishment of a tech campus after seeing a campus in Saudi Arabia. You can read more about what he's saying in today's Guardian business section. Cruise selling website Cruise Compete is reporting that the Bahamas is its most visited country for premium cruises based on the number of quote requests for cruise itineraries. That's according to the company's monthly cruise trend report for June. The site also revealing in its 2022 annual report that for the entire year, the Bahamas took the top spot in that category. According to the site, Nassau and Coco Key took the second and third spots respectively for the most popular cruise ports visited in the premium cruise category, the website breaking down cruises into premium, luxury, and river categories. And from its hub in the Bahamas, cryptocurrency exchange OKX revealing that it has listed WorldCoin on its exchange. According to a statement yesterday, WorldCoin, or WLD, is the native token for the WorldCoin Foundation, founded by OpenAI CEO and ChatGPT founder Sam Altman. WorldCoin's website explains that if successful, WorldCoin would drastically increase economic opportunity, scale a reliable solution for distinguishing humans from AI online while preserving privacy, enable global democratic processes, and eventually show a potential path to AI-funded universal basic income. In your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Monday, your market movers, AML Foods Limited moving 6,490 shares, closing unchanged at $5.25. Commonwealth Bank moving 25,000 shares, up 2 cents to $3.60. Finco moving $2.50, up 15 cents to $12.30. Consolidated Water up 2 cents to $4.17, and Emira Incorporated down 2 cents, closing at $10.17. The BISX All-Share Index closing at 2,569.37, up 1.87. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Your boom pineapple wine, your $1.50 all the time. Your boom pineapple.
Welcome back to Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Duquesa Dean. Okay, so we're talking about BPL and the interview we had moments ago with Siobhan Cambridge, the CEO, and Tony Seymour, the COO. Getting your text messages. These are from earlier, but so let's see if we can answer these. What am I doing here? Okay. Here we go. Please ask the gentleman to remind us of the 3 base rates, especially the over kilowatt hour rate. Thanks. Oh, they're gone, but I have my bill somewhere. But yeah, there are definitely 3. Hold on, let's see if I can pull that up.
Yeah, let me check.
Okay, while we look, we'll get back to you on that. But there are definitely 3. This one says here, BPL is complete rubbish. Why do you all dip the power when you guys damage people's appliances? You don't buy people's stuff back. I hate your company. It's out of order. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask about that as well. What they do? It's such a long road to get your stuff back. All right. You want to read it? Yeah. What are the rates there? What are they saying?
Look, so up to 200 kilowatts.
You have to take yours off to see.
Yeah.
I have to put mine on to see. Look at that's hilarious.
So up to 200 kilowatts per month usage. It's 0.10950. I don't know. That's 2001.
Does it say how much in terms like with the how much it is?
So it says the usage up to 200 is like 11 cents.
Okay.
Yeah. 2001 to 800 kilowatts is like 12 cents per kilowatt. Over 800 is 15 cents. So, yeah, those are the 3 rates. You see it? Let me open that up for you.
Okay. That sounds kind of low. I don't know what that. No, that sounds about right. Okay. Yes. Okay. So there's I've got something as well. Well, I mean, that might be really low. But right now, I don't know. I think it's even higher than that.
Okay.
Right now, according to BPL, less than 800 kilowatts per hour, 16.5.
Oh, where did I get this rate from?
Well, that was up to May. And then June to August 31st, 18.5.
Which bill is this?
For under 800 kilowatts per hour. So 18.5 right now. And then for over 27.6.
27.6.
You see that on yours too?
I have it over 800.
Yeah, 27.6. Yikes.
Under is 18.
Now they're hoping that by November, as you heard in the interview, that would drop to it'll still be 18.5 for under 800 kilowatts.
That's
but
the fuel.
It'll be right.
That's the fuel.
The fuel. Oh, they
the
asked for the
usage
base.
is different.
They asked-
Right, that's the
okay,
base.
so
Yeah.
there we go. Let's go back to what you read then.
Right, so the base up to
way
200, is 11 cents. Up to 600 is 12 cents. Up to over 800 is 15 cents. But when you come to the fuel,
yes,
up to 800 is like 18.5 cents. And over 800 is 27.6 cents. So so you have the base, then you have the fuel.
Okay, send me that too. Let me look at that. So the base and the fuel. Okay, Texter, I hope you heard that. That they sent that a while ago, but hopefully they heard. This one here. How long has the system existed? More efficient units operating compared with less efficient units as demand increase. Well, I was under the impression that the company Wärtsilä generation equipment was a solution. Well, they say they're working. 5 of the 7 that they have are in use right now, but that isn't helping with the fuel surcharge issue.
It's the fuel.
Yeah. This person says, I did all the things they recommended except the insulation, but BPL is too inefficient and expensive. Yeah, where some of us with the older homes are going to have to go back and do some things over. Really look at those roofs and attics. And
one interesting point was we sometimes want to get our air conditioned units, but we have to make sure that what they shared is we can get a 8,000 when we need a 12,000. So the unit works harder and longer. So making sure you have the appropriate size appliance as well will help with the bill.
Do some research. You got to do Google stuff. Read before you buy, even if it broke down on you. But do some reading before you jump into something. It'll save you in the long term. This person says, BPL is killing us. Why is my consumption up 16%, but my bill increased 70%? I am just working to pay electricity bills. This is unsustainable. Yeah, well, the fuel surcharge, yeah. Every new home or ones now being built should have at least water, solar panels. Yeah, well, people got to be thinking about it, right? You have to think about
Factor it in.
And something else, right? So we talked about electric vehicles, right? Whether you have one or not, think about the future.
Yeah.
5, 10, 15 years from now, plan on how you would do your electric vehicle charger, where you would put it, and where, right? Yeah. Think about that now if you're building a home, whether you have an electric or not. Because
it's easier
retrofitting,
to now.
Oh my gosh, that is not fun.
Yeah,
not fun at all. Trust me on that. It's better. Is it better to turn your AC on for a few hours in the evening, or keep it on all day? Hearing many different things.
And those are questions that you could probably answer on that next round of show.
That. Yeah, it depends.
It depends. I mean, my AC person, just recommended to keep it at about 80 and just, leave it. 80. And at first I was like, 80, that's still hot. But when you go outside at 92 and it feels like it's 100 and you come back inside, it actually felt cool at 80.
But you still have to have a fan on.
I have a fan.
Right,
fan running, yes.
Now, Debbie Deal last week on our show said 75.
Okay.
76.
Yeah.
Which is still like,
warm. What? But compared to outside, it's cooler.
Yeah, boy. No, what are you talking about? Please ask who the legacy debt is being paid to. Are they Bahamians? Paying the bills, whoever they owe the money to. Some will be, I'm sure, and some won't, maybe. We should be discussing making BPL private and bringing in competition, not investing more in the company. Well, that's going to be a different discussion for a different set of people, for the government. Why are we still talking about a substantial investment in BPL and not renewables? Well, all of that came up.
Yeah, all that came up. All of that.
Because it won't be like a switch that you got to go from, right, fossil to renewables, turn off everything old, and it won't work like that, right? Not initially. There are traffic accidents knocking out power 3 times a week. Yeah, because Bahamians drive horribly.
And wires, like there are literally wires that I know we were out for quite some time because one of the wires just popped. Like nobody really bothered with it. It just literally came apart from the pole. And we were off for maybe 6 hours that night.
Let me show you a picture that I was
possible.
driving by, and this accident, I don't know what in God's name these people were doing. Wow. Look at that.
Wow.
What type of accident? Now, these people can't drive. And I keep saying that we need to do, the pole is like horizontal
in the air.
Because of these crazy drivers. Yeah. And I don't understand it. This is how these people drive. We need driver's ed in school, mandatory driver's ed. I'm going to say it every day. Okay, we've got a lot more questions. We got to go. The fuel cost doesn't increase based on how much fuel you use. Please ask PPO why do they charge a higher fuel surcharge when consumption? We did ask.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said?
I did. And I was like, okay, so he said that the 800 is like an average base that for all consumers, and they consider anything above that in the luxury category. Yeah. So the average consumption should be about 800 kilowatts.
Change your life.
Right.
Well, that applies to me too. So we're all in the same boat, but it's too hot. Too hot to be concerned about whether you're in the luxury boat or whatever.
You're just trying to survive.
Right,
stay cool, stay alive.
Exactly.
And then, there's interesting other things, too, because we don't even consider the fact that when we leave the refrigerator open, let's say you go to get a drink, you leave the door open while you pour your drink, and all of that is electricity usage.
My mom drilled that into us.
Yeah.
Close this fridge. My dad, too. They all just, my gosh,
right,
you don't keep making multiple trips to the fridge.
I keep leaving the refrigerator door open, so I'm going to fix that.
Yeah. Heard that every day for 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay, we couldn't get to all of your messages. I'm so sorry. But thank you for listening. And Duquesa, thank you for being here.
Yes.
I'll see you again next week.
Yeah, next week Tuesday. You got it.
And I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend Business here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.